feeling ashamed just imagining it. Akemi felt her face burning. What was she thinking? Why am I being so sensitive? Could it be that Lord Qin Tian is really annoying? Raising her nerve sensitivity this much will break her. In contrast, Aki's emotions were much more stable. Seeing her sister make such a fool of herself, the image of the excellent sister she had in her mind instantly collapsed. Although it is true that Lord Qin Tian is an SSS rank master, which is very rare, there is no need to take such extreme actions. She stepped forward and put her hand on my shoulder, trying to separate them. However, the moment she touched my hugged Qin Tian even tighter. No! I don't want to be separated. If Qin Tian doesn't agree to form a contract with me, I will absolutely not separate from him. She pressed her head on Qin Tian's shoulder, as if their love was locked in an unbreakable bond, impossible to escape. Qin Tian felt my heartbeat quicken again and quickly continued to reassure her. Okay, we won't separate, I agree to make a contract with you. How could he refuse a mature woman whose looks are over 90, whose favorability rating is 100, whose loyalty is maxed out due to the influence of her title, and who is willing to die for him, who is so proactive in confessing her feelings to him? I can't refuse. Moreover, he didn't dare to refuse. He had a premonition that if he refused she might do something foolish. Everyone says that mature women are the hardest to date because they're aloof and impossible to warm up. But when you do date one, and she truly falls in love with you, it can be incredibly intense. On the contrary, those lowless and mature lowless are considered easy to talk to because of their cute appearance and the rumors that they are soft-spoken, gentle, and easy to push over. In fact, they are the most difficult to talk to. If you give to them, they will respond to you warmly and provide you with emotional value. However, they treat everyone this way. You are not their only one. Even without you, they have other brothers. Really? Mai loosened her grip on Qin Tian's hand and looked at him suspiciously, as if to confirm whether he was lying to her. It's hard to imagine that Mai looked so pitiful when they first met, and that she was completely indifferent to the excellent masters who came to chat her up. Why would I lie to you? Qin Tian smiled slightly. Actually, I like you quite a bit too, but I see that you are rather aloof and resistant to the idea of a contract, so I decided not to bother you. Mai quickly explained, actually, I have my reasons. I'm afraid of encountering a bad master. But you're different. You're different from other masters. If it's you, I'm willing to believe you. Qin Tian nodded, don't worry, I won't treat you unfairly. Welcome to our big family. Mai's brows relaxed, she smiled sweetly, hugged Qin Tian again, and kissed him on the cheek. Why are you holding me so tightly? You're all sweaty and soaked through. I don't want to. I just want to hold you. I love your scent, it's much stronger than the smell of that dress. That's what she said. After hugging for a while, she took the initiative to let go. The two separated, and Mai blushed and tugged at her skirt, now thinking about what she had just done in the entryway. She felt utterly ashamed, lowered her head, and gripped the floor tightly with her toes. Mai bent over, secretly glancing at Mai's face, and giggled, sister. You're really amazing, you've finally separated us. I'm going to get them up. Seeing her younger sister making fun of her like this, Mai was so angry that she raised her hand to hit her. You've grown bold. How dare you laugh at your older sister? Aki laughed and took a step back to avoid him, saying playfully, although you are the older sister biologically, in this family, I came first, so I'm your older sister now. Mai, furious, chased after Aki, yelling, Aki! Are you trying to rebel? I'll teach you a lesson. Aki easily dodged all of Mai's attacks, remaining calm and composed. Sister, I'm not the Aki you used to bully at will anymore. I've grown up. Your movements look like slow motion to me, so easy. You just did some strenuous exercise, so you should rest now. Damn it. Mai was panting heavily, while Aki hadn't even broken a sweat. Qin Tian looked at the two sisters helplessly and smiled bitterly. It seems the god of war at the entrance is doomed. He had already anticipated that the system would soon bestow this title upon him. Just as Qin Tian was about to say something, Mingmei had already taken a rag, knelt on the ground to wipe it, and swallowed hard. After wiping, Mingmei leaned close to Qin Tian's ear and whispered, Lord Qin Tian is so lewd. The way you looked at me just now, were you thinking something strange? Qin Tian coughed quickly, you noticed? Mingmei gave Qin Tian a resentful look and rolled her eyes. You raised my nerve sensitivity so much, I noticed it right away, you're so mean. Qin Tian said righteously, I'm only doing this for your own good. You were in such a state during training just now. If your opponent hadn't been me, but the real demon queen, you would have been dead long ago. Akemi gently bit her lip. I know, so please be gentle with me next time, it really hurt a little. Qin Tian smiled slightly. I see you like it quite a bit, don't you? Besides, seeing you almost broken makes me want to bully you even more. Mingmei blushed and stomped her foot, saying, Lord Qin Tian is so mean. I'm ignoring you. After saying that, she turned and left, opened the bathroom door, and locked it with a click. Qin Tian finally looked at the girl on patrol and frowned slightly. Why are you still here? The girl stared at Qin Tian in disbelief. Wow. Master, you're amazing. You have 3 such beautiful servants. No one in the entire master's dormitory area is enjoying themselves more than you. Qin Tian was quite pleased to receive the praise. Who else in the entire university had 3 attendants with looks that were over 90 points? The girl continued, wow. That older sister was amazing. She won you over so easily. Next time, I'm going to use that trick too. I'll just take down my master right there in the entrance hall, then hug him and won't let go until he agrees. Qin Tian was speechless. He grabbed the girl's arm, opened the door, and pushed her out. Roll. The girl stood at the door, clenching her fists. Big sister who set an example, I will learn from you and definitely win over the master in my heart. The next day, Qin Tian opened his eyes and felt that something was wrong. Why didn't Ding Miao Miao come today? Chapter 30, Rewards from the Security Department and Crisis Department. The strange Ding Miao Miao. Qin Tian stood by the window, looking at the road outside. Ding Miao Miao really didn't come. He felt a little empty inside, but then he thought that he had rejected her so many times, so he probably had given up. Or perhaps yesterday's accident left her extremely exhausted, and it's understandable that she didn't come today to rest. Without thinking further, Qin Tian arrived at the restaurant and saw Akemi setting the plates while Aki was cleaning the kitchen. Where's Mai? Qin Tian asked. Aki smiled and said, Mai is in the underground training ground. After you optimized her yesterday, she seems to have a new idea and is experimenting with it. Aki put down the dishcloth, wiped her hands, and said, I'll go call her for dinner. Akemi stood by the dining table and waved, Lord Qin Tian, come and eat. Aki and I made bacon, fried eggs, and scallion pancakes. Qin Tian sat down, and Mingmei quickly placed breakfast in front of him. He gazed at Mingmei's radiant profile, completely captivated. He raised his hand, cupped Mingmei's face, gently pinched her chin, and kissed her. Mingmei was slightly taken aback, but did not resist. After they separated, her pretty face flushed red, and she lowered her head and said softly, Lord Qin Tian, you're not behaving properly since you woke up this morning. You were so tired yesterday, why are you still thinking about this? Qin Tian admired Mingmei's shy expression and smiled, it was just a good morning kiss. What are you thinking? Could it be, that's all that's on Mingmei's mind? Ah! Mingmei cried out in surprise, Lord Qin Tian is so mean, he just likes to bully me. Oh, right. Mingmei gently pulled her hand away from Qin Tian's. I also made abalone and ham soup. I'll bring it to you. She jogged along, and Qin Tian watched Mingmei's back, his gaze lingering on her slender legs and bare feet beneath her skirt. She looked adorable no matter how you looked at her. She happily brought the soup over, placed it in front of Qin Tian, gently touched the bowl, and then immediately withdrew her hand and pinched her ear. It seems a bit hot. Lord Qin Tian, please have breakfast first before drinking it. The temperature should be just right then. Qin Tian opened his mouth, I want you to feed me. Mingmei trembled slightly and nodded gently, okay. Qin Tian was enjoying Akemi's personal service with a satisfied expression. Not long after, Aki came up with Mai. Mai sat not far from Qin Tian, staring at him. She seemed to have regained her composure, but thinking about what happened last night, she still felt shy and incredulous. Are you really willing to make a contract with me? Qin Tian couldn't help but chuckle, how could it be fake? Mai was silent for a moment, then asked, why did you agree so quickly? Qin Tian shrugged, you pressured me so much back then, I had no choice but to agree. Mai's originally pale skin flushed pink. She immediately picked up a piece of scallion pancake, rolled it with a fried egg and bacon, and put a ham in her mouth, chewing vigorously. Qin Tian smiled as he watched Mai try to distract herself by eating breakfast, and continued, however, I actually like you being so pushy. So, let's go make a contract today. When we get back, I'll show you just how strong I really am. I'll tell you, you'll never regret choosing me. Mai didn't say anything, she just kept eating, as if she had used up all her energy last night and needed to replenish it quickly. Upon arriving at the Master's Attendant Association, Shin Tian noticed that the way the people there were looking at him was strange. Whenever a master sees him, they look at him with disdain and then turn away. The servant's eyes lit up when he saw him, and he wanted to ask for his contact information, but when he saw the three beautiful girls beside him, he felt ashamed and stopped in his tracks. When I arrived at that office, it was the same old friend. Upon seeing Shin Tian, he burst into laughter. I was wondering when you would come again, but I didn't expect to run into you again so soon. He glanced at Mai, a slight smile playing on his lips, and said without any hesitation, young man, you're really lucky with women. You're going to contract another beautiful servant? Do you know? The whole of Donghai City is talking about you right now. Shin Tian ignored the gossip and frowned slightly, asking, what's going on? The official laughed and said, everyone is saying that the servant you nurtured with love is much stronger in combat than other servants. He can not only kill the third-tier monster queen, but also hold back the fourth-tier monster queen. He is very outstanding. As he spoke, he took out 2 cards and handed them to Shin Tian. This was given to our association by the security department and the crisis department. They asked me to give it to you. I originally wanted to arrange for someone to deliver it to your home, but you came first, so I can give it to you in person. Shin Tian looked at the 2 cards. The first one was a black card with the Great Wall pattern engraved on it, the Great Wall representing the Security Bureau. The other card is a red card engraved with a dragon totem. This one belongs to the Crisis Bureau. The official explained, the Ministry of Security, in gratitude for your servant's success in defeating the Tier 3 Monster Queen, has awarded you a 10 million tael bonus, as well as a qualification certificate for crafting Tier 3 servant weapons. He looked on with envy. TSK, the weapon that the security department made from the Monster Queen's body material is extremely powerful. Generally speaking, only S-rank masters are qualified to apply for a weapon that can be custom made for their servants, and there is only 1 qualification per year. Your servants saved so many people, so you were specially rewarded with this. Shin Tian nodded. Please thank the leaders of the security department for me. I will definitely make good use of this qualification to improve the combat effectiveness of my attendants. He smiled and continued to explain the second card. This card was applied for you by Commander Song Tianyang. It contains a bonus of 1 million. Although it's not a lot of money, you should pay attention to another use for it. This card means that you can access special information from the Crisis Department about the Monster Queen. He asked me to tell you that he thinks highly of you. He believes that although you are only F rank, you are very capable in training servants. The 3 vanished Monster Queens may reappear. He wants you to study these available materials carefully and not be hunted by the Monster Queens. Shin Tian nodded, I will. Then, can you help me sign the contract? I want to form a contract with this Yuan Mai. The official glanced at Mai, waved his hand, and signed the document with great ease. Then he chuckled and said, with so many beautiful maids under contract, don't overwork yourself tonight. Make sure you arrange things reasonably, understand? Shin Tian smiled and replied that he had an SSS level, healing, ability at most. His magic power would be consumed a little quickly, but he wouldn't get tired. After completing the contract with Mai and stepping out of the Master Servant Association, a fiery red-haired girl stood expressionless in front of him, her eyes dark and gloomy. Shin Tian was slightly taken aback. Ding Myo Myo? Oh, she's alright. That's good. Shin Tian glanced at Ding Miaomio's personal panel as usual and was surprised to find that something was wrong. My appearance score has reached 90, which meets the system's requirements, but a strange phenomenon has appeared in the favorability rating section. Affection level, 100 or 100. Chapter 31 Directly to Death with the Evil Eye. Queen Qingling is approaching the city. Is this how you get a favorability rating? Shin Tian didn't understand. He could understand Zhang Yibai. He guessed that, like Mai, he was influenced by the title and only agreed with him. But what does 100 mean? This level of affection should make you want to kill him immediately. Every second that passes is torture. Not only that, why did her appearance score, which was originally 89, suddenly increase by 1 to become 90? Could it be that her temperament has changed, making her look a little more attractive? The current Ding Miaomio is not like before, constantly groveling and fawning over him like a lapdog. Instead, she exudes a bit of arrogance and nobility. He also discovered. Ding Miaomio looked at him with greed, love, desire, and bloodlust. This is in front of the Master Servant Association. She can't be crazy enough to kill him here, right? He tentatively asked. Ding Miao Miao, what's wrong? Ding Miao Miao glanced at Qin Tian and smiled slightly. Nothing much, I just ran into Lord Qin Tian outside and was so happy that I forgot to say anything. Qin Tian didn't believe Ding Miao Miao's answer at all. There wasn't a trace of happiness in her eyes or expression just now. Ding Miao Miao then said, Excuse me, Lord Qin Tian, I have something to attend to, please excuse me for a moment. After saying that, Ding Miao Miao walked towards the Master Attendant Association, without looking at Qin Tian again. Mingmei, holding Qin Tian's arm, stared at Ding Miao Miao's retreating figure with a puzzled expression. What's wrong with Ding Miao Miao today? Usually she'll pester you to make a contract with her. Aki said with a worried look, is she too tired? After all, we all received Lord Qin Tian's healing after our battle with the Demon Queen yesterday, but she didn't. Mai curled her lip and said impatiently, why bother with so much? Every servant has their own ideas. She probably gave up because she couldn't get what she wanted and wasn't willing to sacrifice herself. If she really liked Lord Qin Tian, she would stop at nothing to achieve it. Qin Tian rolled his eyes at Ma Yi and teased, then do what you did, break into my house in the middle of the night and pin me down in the entryway? Mai blushed instantly, clenched her fists, and stomped her foot angrily. Don't talk about yesterday anymore. Qin Tian laughed and said, I will remember this for the rest of my life. TSK, you cried so pitifully yesterday, I guess you won't see it a second time. Stop talking. Mai angrily hugged Qin Tian's neck, then shoved her mouth into Qin Tian's mouth until he was completely quiet before separating them. She snorted, looking at Qin Tian's stunned expression and Akemi and Aki's surprised looks, and said with a smug look on her face, finally blocked it, hurry up and go home, I want to see how you expect me not to regret it. After a moment of hesitation, Qin Tian nodded, okay, let's go home. Aki drove, Mai sat in the passenger seat, and Qin Tian and Akemi sat in the back. Qin Tian whispered to Mingmei, Mai is so bold. When will you be able to do this? I kissed you this morning and you wanted to run away. Mingmei blushed instantly, lowered her head, and whispered, Lord Qin Tian, I can't do it. Qin Tian smiled slightly, patted Mingmei's head, and began training her slowly. Back home, in Qin Tian's room, he had Mai lie down on the bed. Aki and Ikemi knew what they were supposed to do. One stood guard by the window, and the other by the door, to prevent any disturbance. Attendant, Minamoto no Mai. Age, 20. Talent level, a rank Thunder Overlord, can grant S rank Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, S rank King of Armies, S rank God of War of the Azure Sky. Class, 3. Height, 175 centimeters. Weight, 49 kilograms. Measurements, 99 63 92. Appearance rating, 93. Favorability, 100. Looking at Mai's new panel with 3 selectable talents, Qin Tian didn't hesitate this time. He knew what he wanted. S-rank Mystic Eyes of Death Perception. The other 2 are top-tier lightning-type talents, but compared to the Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, they are still somewhat lacking. The Mystic Eyes of Death Perception allow one to see the death lines of anything and slash along those lines, capable of killing even gods. Mai's swordsmanship is very strong. If she hadn't encountered a 4th-tier monster queen yesterday, she would have been disemboweled like Ding Miao Miao in their first encounter. Mai, who possesses the Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, will become his sharpest blade, cutting down everything in his path. If Mai can't be killed, then he'll make his move. Qin Tian raised his hand, and a vast expanse of red magic power, like a dragon, coiled within the room. Akemi and Aki were amazed by the powerful magic. Mai swallowed hard when she saw the immense magical power. Would such a huge amount of magical power cause her to break down if it entered her body? She almost broke down during the battle at the entrance. This time it's even more intense. The magical dragon let out a silent roar, curled up slightly, and then suddenly burrowed into Mai's body. Her eyes widened, bloodshot, and all her muscles tensed. It hurts. Don't do that. Ouch. The excruciating pain caused Mai to arch her body, and her bloodshot eyes changed, taking on a mysterious pale blue hue. She saw the whole world differently, filled with lines everywhere. Not only Mai saw those lines, but Qin Tian, who received a 100-fold return, also saw them. In fact, he saw even more and more deeply than Mai. Not only could he see the lines, but he could also see the Eye of Death. As long as he attacked the Eye of Death, he could kill the opponent in one blow. The SSS level, Healing, skill guarantees survival. SSS rank, Indra's Wrath, the Overlord of long-range combat. The SSS rank, Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, gave Qin Tian the possibility of a one-hit kill. He is getting stronger and stronger. Even in this world, battles that belong to the master are rare. Usually, it is the servants who do the fighting. He can live without fighting, but he cannot live without the ability to fight. Those top-tier monster queens and nymph empresses are all freaks. Even with so many abilities, he wouldn't dare say he could defeat them. Putting aside abilities, the difference in basic stats alone is enormous. After receiving the ability, Mai was covered in sweat, and the blanket was soaked with her sweat. She breathed heavily and looked at the unfamiliar world in front of her, in disbelief. She awakened a second time? No way. Aki told her that after making a contract with Qin Tian, she experienced a second awakening when magic was injected for the first time. She just thought that Akemi and Aki were really lucky. She could only attribute her awakening once, twice, and even twice to luck. But now she doesn't think that way anymore. She stands up, looking at Qin Tian's smiling face, feeling confused, admiring, and amazed. This guy can definitely make the servants awaken a second time. Damn it! If she had known Qin Tian was this kind of master, why would she have hesitated for so long? She should have just stuck to him like Aki did. Now things are really messed up. I'm half a month late, and I still have to be Aki's little sister. Damn it! Just as she was regretting it, Aki and Akemi left the room with smiles on their faces. Where are you going? Mai asked, puzzled. Aki gripped the doorknob and chuckled. After the first magic infusion, there's still the optimization step. Good luck, sister. Don't give up easily. The more optimizations you do, the stronger you'll become. Clang. Only Qin Tian and Mai remained in the room. When Mai saw Qin Tian approaching, she seemed to understand what optimization meant, and her face immediately turned red, her whole body tense. Qin Tian smiled and said, Mai, do you want to seize the future? Seize the future? Mai looked up, saw the future, bit her lip lightly, and reached out her hand. Dinner time. The four people were chatting and laughing at the dining table. Mai leaned against Qin Tian and kept putting food on his plate. Aki was very pleased to see her older sister taking such an initiative. Just then, everyone's phones rang at the same time. Qin Tian frowned slightly. He took out his phone and saw that it was a message from the Master Attendant Association. Level A alert. A 6th-tier monster queen, codenamed Azure Antelope, is leading 100,000 antelope beasts toward East Sea City. All masters, take note. Immediately dispatch at least 2 attendants to the association to report and assist in the operation. Chapter 32 Crisis Department Internal Information. The two kings loudly conspire. A 6th-tier monster queen? Qin Tian's eyes widened. The originally joyful dinner suddenly fell silent. Everyone felt uneasy. That's a 6th-tier demon queen, and now she's invading East Sea City. This is a disaster, and many more people will probably die. Last year, the 7th-tier mermaid queen landed in Donghai City, killing 800,000 people. After the hunt ended, she left triumphantly. This year, a 6th-tier monster queen brazenly invaded Donghai City, probably intending to use the city's humans as food reserves. The 3 girls all looked at Qin Tian. The superiors required the master to send at least 2 attendants to assist. Although they would not become cannon fodder like the Death Army, they would still have to carry out some special missions. This was a fate that no attendant could escape. Even if Qin Tiansai's first servant had been under contract for less than a month, he still had to accept the summons. Qin Tian looked at the 3 girls. If it were a normal mission, he wouldn't be worried about their safety, but this was wartime conscription, and their opponent was a 6th-tier demon queen. What if something happened? Mingmei saw Qin Tian's dilemma. As Qin Tian's first servant, she quickly made up her mind and took Qin Tian's hand. Lord Qin Tian, let me go. Qin Tian glanced at Mingmei, who was smiling. My second talent is healing. If I go to the battlefield, I won't die so easily. Moreover, thanks to Lord Qin Tian's careful nurturing during this time, I'm getting closer and closer to the 4th rank. Even if I accept the conscription, I will only perform 3rd rank missions, which won't be difficult for me. Aki also spoke up, since Akemi has said so, then let me take the 2nd spot. Mai opened her mouth, looking worried, while Aki tilted her head and looked at her sister. Sister, don't be so stubborn. You've only just formed a contract and haven't received Lord Qin Tian's training yet. It's easy for something to happen if you go to the battlefield. She took her sister Mai's hand and said softly, you should stay here to protect Lord Qin Tian, cultivate diligently, and receive training. That's what you should do. Besides, you don't need to worry about me. I have a wind-type talent, mainly for ranged combat, so I'm perfectly safe, even in melee. She paused, her face slightly flushed, and continued, having received Lord Qin Tian's optimization, I'm not as fragile as before. Besides, Mingmei gives me healing, it's hard for me to die, he 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 he. Qin Tian was deeply moved to see how considerate they were of him. Mingmei placed Qin Tian's hand on her chest and stammered, I'm about to be drafted. Could you please give me one last boost? Lord Qin Tian wouldn't want anything to happen to me on the battlefield, would he? Aki immediately raised her hand, pleading, me too. Me too. Please optimize me thoroughly, I can become even stronger. Qin Tian smiled, gently patted Mingmei's head, and said tenderly, don't worry, I will give you a very serious lesson before your conscription. However, before class, I need to do some research. The card the crisis department gave me should have some information about the Queen of the Blue Antelopes. You should all learn from it, just in case. Good. Esports room. There are 2 high-spec computers and 5 widescreen monitors here. Normally, Qin Tian would play games here, and Aki would play with him. Akemi would sit next to Qin Tian and play with him. From time to time, Akemi would crawl under the table to bother Qin Tian while he was playing games. Qin Tian and Yaji didn't dare to use voice chat while playing games, fearing that their teammates would notice something was wrong. This time, everyone was very serious, watching Qin Tian turn on his computer, access the IP address on the card, and scan the card information multiple times with his camera as required. Only after a series of tedious authentications was he able to enter the address. Once inside, Qin Tian felt as if he had entered a new world. Inside, there was a forum and a database. Any brothers free? Let's take down the 5th tier purple-eyed empress together. We'll split the reward. Requirements: master must be at least 5th tier, and at least 3 servants must be at least 5th tier. I've discovered the main ingredient of a rare healing potion, the Jade White Lotus Seed, but it's guarded by 3 4th tier monster queens. Is there any master who has time to come and make some money? Director Liu of the Anshi City Security Bureau has advanced to the 6th level and will be holding a banquet next month. Let's all go and have a meal together to congratulate Director Liu. Looking at the densely packed posts, this place is clearly a chat circle for high-ranking masters. That makes sense. The crisis department is a gathering place for high-ranking masters, and they share information here. You can't find this kind of information on the internet. Song Tianyang really gave himself a good thing. Even the 3 women in Mai were attracted by the information above. 4th tier masters, who are rarely seen in normal times, are just ordinary beings here. You can even see news about 6th tier or even 7th tier masters. To them, these masters were practically gods, celestial beings. They were very curious about the contents of the posts, but they didn't dare to tell Qin Tian what to do. They just secretly hoped that Qin Tian would also be interested in those posts and click on them. Qin Tian didn't have time to look at these things. He went straight to the search bar and typed in Queen of the Azure Antelope. Search. The page was refreshed, and the number of posts decreased significantly, leaving only 13 posts on the page. Qin Tian opened a post titled Summary of the Reasons for the 3 Failed Attempts to Annihilate the 6th Tier Blue Antelope Queen. Upon entering, the first thing you see is information about the Queen of the Blue Antelopes, with a high-definition picture pinned to the top. It was a female monster with 4 legs, like a centaur. She has a pair of long antlers on her head, elegant lake green hair, 6 magic patterns painted on her face, and cold, arrogant amber eyes. The upper body was covered by white bones, with the shoulders, elbows, and wrists heavily protected. The chest line resembled the western plateau, covered by white bones in the northern hemisphere. The smooth abdomen had 8-pack abs, and the sides of the waist and lower body were covered by thick white fur. In the photo, she holds a long, curved spear high, as if it were a tree branch she had picked up casually. The tip of the spear glows with a green light, clearly indicating that this is not an ordinary weapon. The author begins his introduction with the first sentence. The Queen of the Blue Antelope, the ruler of the plains, according to incomplete statistics, has hunted down a total of 1,286 masters, including 72 4th tier, 12 5th tier, and 1 6th tier. Her longest range attack, up to the maximum range of her weapon, was locking onto a target 1,000 kilometers away, firing her spear, and killing a 4th tier master. This is an extremely dangerous monster queen. Meanwhile, on a plain 500 kilometers west of Donghai City, by a lake, the Queen of the Blue Antelopes was being teased by a red-haired girl. Ah! Queen Qingyi blushed deeply, trying to break free from the red-haired girl on top of her. Stop it. China. Hee. The girl straddled the blue antelope, hugging it from behind and refusing to let go. Blue antelope, you really came. I thought you weren't coming. Qingling turned to look at the red-haired girl behind her. I'm just helping you draw away the main fighting force of Donghai City. Are you really okay with that? That's a master with double SSS level talents. The red-haired girl shrugged. What's there to be afraid of? At worst, I'll die. But if I succeed, I'll catch up with you very soon. After I kill him, do you want me to share some with you? The blue antelope licked its lips. Sure. The red-haired girl laughed. Then you'd better hold them off well. I've already used mind control to hypnotize one of the girls next to him. Next, I'll use that girl to lure the master out alone, while my subordinates surround and attack the master from the crisis department, leaving him isolated and helpless. That will be a fatal blow. As she spoke, the red-haired girl's lips curled into a ferocious smile, and her eyes turned bloodshot, as if a ball of fire was burning within them. Chapter 33 The Storm is Brewing. Ding Meow Meow's meeting. After reading this article, everyone finally had a sufficient understanding of the Queen of the Blue Antelopes. Aki exclaimed in surprise, so, we're now within the Blue Antelope Queen's attack range? I frowned slightly. It seems so, but it's not that exaggerated. It's undeniable that she has great destructive power and a long attack range, but she still has to be able to hit the target. How can she lock onto a target at 1,000 kilometers? I guess this record is an accident. Mingmei placed her hand on Qin Tian's shoulder and asked worriedly, Lord Qin Tian, could it be that she came because she found you? Could those monster queens we encountered yesterday be her subordinates or allies? Qin Tian patted Mingmei's hand and agreed, it's quite possible. One of them is threatening Donghai City from outside, while the other is inside Donghai City, taking advantage of the city's weakened military strength to incite unrest within the city. Aki squatted down beside Qin Tian and took his hand. Then isn't Lord Qin Tian in danger too? If we all go out to fight Queen Qingling, who will protect you? Mai grabbed Aki by the back of her collar and said coldly, Aki, have you forgotten me? With me by Lord Qin Tian's side, you can rest assured. I've also awakened twice, and now I'm not much weaker than you. Even a 4th-tier queen, I'm confident I can kill her. Aki looked worried, hesitated, and stammered, but... Qin Tian patted Aki's head, kissed her forehead, and said gently, don't worry, a 4th-tier queen is easy for me, a 5th-tier queen is no problem either, and even a 6th-tier queen is not impossible to fight. I didn't make a move yesterday just because I didn't want the crisis department to know my strength. Looking at Qin Tian's confident eyes, Aki nodded slightly, but still reminded him, don't be reckless. I don't want anything to happen to you. Qin Tian nodded. They then looked at some information about the Queen of the Blue Antelopes. Her destruction of cities was so devastating that if the city's army couldn't be stopped from the outside, and she were to invade, hundreds of thousands of people would be killed or injured. She was a truly despicable monster queen. That evening, Qin Tian gave Mingmei and Aki one last optimization. The next day, Qin Tian still didn't see Ding Miao Miao appear, which was a bit strange. Why did Ding Miao Miao seem like a different person? The favorability rating is strange, and my appearance has also changed. With a beauty score of 90, she had already met the threshold for the contract, but she gave up just like that. If he encounters them again, he will ask them for clarification. Qin Tian took Mingmei and Aki to the Masters Attendant Association to register their information. Upon entering the association's hall, the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Every master looked extremely grim, and the attendants also appeared dejected. Being invaded by a 6th-tier monster queen is something no city would be happy about, no matter where you are. Donghai City is considered a medium to large city in the entire Xinhua Kingdom, with a resident population of over 30 million. It faces the sea to the east and is home to a death army of 100,000 men. However, they will not move easily, and the threat from the sea should not be underestimated. Once the monsters from the sea land, it will be difficult to occupy this coastline again. The fighting force that will confront Queen Qingling consists of a portion of retired servants from within the city, a portion of the master's servants, and a portion of 50,000 dead soldiers sent by Nanling City, totaling approximately 130,000 men. After the registration was completed, Qin Tian watched as Mingmei and Aki boarded the military vehicle and waved goodbye. I glanced at Qin Tian and said calmly, don't worry, they are all very capable and will take good care of themselves. Qin Tian lowered his hand, put his arm around Mai's waist, and said softly, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about you. There might be a high-ranking queen in the city watching us. She could make a move at any time. I can still protect myself, but what about you? Mai blushed slightly. Was he worried about her? So this is what it feels like to be worried about by your master. It's so wonderful to be able to form a contract with Lord Qin Tian. She hugged Qin Tian's waist and whispered in his ear, if you're really worried about me, then optimize me a bit more. I feel like my potential is much greater than this. Qin Tian chuckled, thinking that Mai was indeed bold. Snap. Ouch. Mai was so frightened that she threw herself into Qin Tian's arms. You're such a greedy cat, Qin Tian smiled slightly, gazing at Mai's beautiful face. Are you ready? During this time, Aki and Akemi won't be there to help you share the pressure of training and combat. Mai blinked, hugged Qin Tian's neck, kissed him on the cheek, and whispered, the greater the pressure, the faster I grow, isn't that right? Qin Tian smiled slightly, put his arm around Mai's waist, and walked back to the parking lot. Just as Qin Tian was about to open the car door, he saw a fiery red figure standing in the distance, staring at him. The figure was Ding Miao Miao. Qin Tian thought for a moment, then let Mai get into the car first. He walked towards Ding Miao Miao, looked at the girl who was standing motionless in front of him, and asked, what are you doing here? Ding Miao Miao looked at Qin Tian, remained silent for a long time, and then said, Lord Qin Tian, am I really useless? Qin Tian frowned slightly. Why would Ding Miao Miao say such a thing? She was usually very cheerful and full of energy. No, I think you're amazing. Ding Miao Miao stared at Qin Tian calmly for a while, then her eyes began to dart away. She said softly, but when I faced the queen, I was utterly helpless. If it weren't for Lord Qin Tian's help, I would have died long ago. Qin Tian smiled and said, that's a 4th-tier queen. You're only a 3rd-tier one, so it's normal that you can't beat her. Ding Miao Miao said, but Lord Qin Tian's attendant is also a 3rd-tier attendant, yet he can fight against a 4th-tier queen, while I am just dragging him down. Lord Qin Tian must hate an attendant like me. I am not qualified to be Lord Qin Tian's attendant. Qin Tian looked Ding Miao Miao up and down. What did this girl want to say? Is this pushing myself away? That's not true, Qin Tian continued to reassure him. I think you have great potential. If you really want to become my attendant, we can apply to the association right now, how about it? Ding Miao Miao's looks meet the requirements, so there's no problem with signing a contract with her. As for the issue of favorability, he could only attribute it to the special nature of certain people. After all, some people hate more deeply the more they love. If he can't have her, he'll go crazy and kill the person he once loved, then commit suicide. But Ding Miao Miao said, forget it, I don't want to form a contract with you anymore. You'll definitely do a lot of outrageous things to me after the contract is signed. You say you're nice to all the servants, but actually you're only nice to the servants you like, right? You're definitely playing me. I've been pursuing you for so long and you never agreed. Why did you suddenly agree today? You clearly don't like me, yet you agreed to make a contract with me. Pity me? Pity me? Give me charity? Qin Tian frowned. What was wrong with Ding Miao Miao? He felt that Ding Miao Miao was getting stranger and stranger, always saying things he couldn't understand and that made no sense, which annoyed him. Although the girl is good looking, he has no intention of dating her if she has a strange personality. Since that's what you think, then let's not make a contract. Ding Miao Miao suddenly sneered and said contemptuously, as expected, you don't actually want to form a contract with me. You're just going through the motions. You probably wouldn't even look at a useless servant like me, would you? What are you talking about? Qin Tian's tone became harsher, his eyes filled with anger as he stared at Ding Miao Miao. You keep changing your mind. If you encounter any difficulties, you can tell me. If I can help you, I definitely will. Ding Miao Miao stared at Qin Tian's angry face, biting her lip, her eyes misting over, and sobbed, why are you so good to me? I'm clearly. She abruptly covered her mouth, silencing what she wanted to say, and her heart felt as if it were being squeezed. Ding Miao Miao gritted her teeth. She really wanted to tell Qin Tian to stay away from her, but that bastard forcibly controlled her body and wouldn't let her say it. That wretched monster queen. I'm going to kill you. How could you make me treat Lord Qin Tian like this? However, faced with absolute power, Ding Miao Miao lost herself. Her expression became calm and indifferent as she spoke to Qin Tian. If you really want to help me, then come to my house in 7 days and we'll talk alone. Without waiting for Qin Tian's consent, Ding Miao Miao turned and left, leaving Qin Tian with only a lonely figure behind her. Chapter 34. The plan is ahead of schedule. The crisis department master is instantly killed. Back home, Qin Tian found Ding Miaomiao's behavior increasingly strange. If the other person truly had that kind of unusual personality, they should have become hysterical by the end. Why did she become so calm and indifferent in the end, not like a human being at all, but more like a puppet? Etc. Puppet. Qin Tian immediately logged back into the forum and began searching for information about the demon queen controlling humans. However, he couldn't find the answer to this question, as if the demon queen didn't control humans. Or is it that they simply don't want to talk about it? After thinking for a moment, Qin Tian went to the Master Servant Association again and found the examiner he had met many times. You want Commander Song's contact information? The other party looked at Qin Tian in surprise, hesitated for a moment, and then said, It's impossible for me to give it to you directly, but I can help you contact him. Qin Tian nodded, Then I'll trouble you. The examiner smiled slightly, It's all right, boy help boy. As he spoke, he took out his phone, dialed Song Tianyan's number, said a few words after the call was connected, and then handed the phone to Qin Tian. What do you want to ask me? Song Tianyang's nonchalant voice rang out on the phone. I want to know if the demon queen has the ability to control her servants, Qin Tian said, cutting straight to the point without any pleasantries. The ability to control servants? Song Tianyang was taken aback, then laughed and said, It seems so, but they rarely use it. They usually just directly change the attitude of these people. Change your stance? Song Tianyang nodded, Yes, they will use the name of love to make the servants they love give everything for them and do anything, including betraying humanity and betraying their masters. In the name of love? Qin Tian felt this was outrageous. Would a servant betray humanity and his master for this? You don't believe me? Song Tianyang asked back. A little. Then you still don't know enough. Song Tianyang sighed, servants want to form a contract with their masters not just for magic power and to increase their cultivation speed, but also because they crave love. Many servants feel that life is meaningless if they don't feel love, and then they will do many outrageous things in order to get love. The demon queen took advantage of the servants' lack of love, using love to control them and make them work for her. Qin Tian asked, If you put it that way, as long as the master gives the servant enough love, wouldn't these problems be easily solved? Song Tianyang chuckled, You make it sound so simple. I've heard rumors about you. You say you'll give your servants enough love, but I'm telling you, the vast majority of masters don't fall in love with their servants. Why? Perhaps it's because servants are so easily obtained that even if they are lost, there are many new replacements. Qin Tian had to admit that things that are too easily obtained are indeed not cherished. Even in their previous lives, those love-struck fools would be deceived by scumbags. When asked why they left, their answer was usually, I didn't feel anything anymore. Why did you ask that question? Song Tianyang asked curiously. Qin Tian told Song Tianyang about his relationship with Ding Miaomiao. Song Tianyang frowned slightly, So, you think Ding Miaomiao is controlled by the demon queen, but not completely, which is why you came to me? Right. After thinking for a long time, Song Tianyang suddenly asked, Have you fallen in love with Ding Miaomiao? Qin Tian was taken aback, then said somewhat embarrassedly, I wouldn't say I love her, but I do like this girl quite a bit. Song Tianyang continued, Have you helped this girl? For example, by giving her recognition, providing positive feedback, and lending a helping hand when she needs it? I do have these. Song Tianyang exclaimed, I understand now. Ding Miaomiao must have been targeted by the demon queen. Sometimes she loves you, and sometimes she loves the demon queen, but I think she loves you more. Otherwise, she wouldn't have found you and asked you to stay away from her. TSK. I've actually encountered this kind of special thing. It seems like I can't escape being promoted to major this year. Qin Tian asked with a worried expression, Should we go save Ding Miaomiao right now? Song Tianyang said calmly, What's the rush? Let me apply to my superiors to have a high-ranking master come and help. Didn't she tell you it would be a week from now? We have plenty of time. Qin Tian thought about it and realized that Ding Miaomiao was safe for at least the next 7 days. This way, a high-ranking master can handle the matter without me having to reveal my own strength. However, things did not go as smoothly as Qin Tian had imagined. On the 3rd day, Ding Miaomiao suddenly appeared at Song Tianyang's house. Ding Miaomiao looked at Song Tianyang, who was sitting on the sofa with one woman on each side, and said indifferently, You and Qin Tian have talked too much. Song Tianyang stroked his chin, sizing up Ding Miaomiao, and chuckled, You shouldn't be Ding Miaomiao, right? I didn't expect that you would actually inject your own soul into this girl's body in order to control her. What should I call you? Ding Miao said calmly, please call me Queen China. Song Tianyang's smile froze, and he immediately shouted to his 3 servants, stop her. His 3 attendants were still in a daze, wondering why their master was so afraid. China grinned, raised her hand, and the entire house burst into flames, blocking Song Tianyang's path. No one is getting away. I didn't want to make a move so soon, but you did something unnecessary and messed up my plans. Song Tianyang cursed angrily, damn monster queen, I'll fight you to the death. He reached out and tore open space, pulling out a long sword from within a black sword that glowed with purple light. Gripping his long sword tightly, Song Tianyang charged toward China, shouting to his attendants, don't just stand there. If you don't want to die, charge with me. Song Tianyang was shocked to discover that his 3 servants had already been pierced by flames, and 3 fourth-tier demon queens stood behind them, slowly pulling their weapons out of their bodies. Despair flashed in Song Tianyang's eyes. Damn monster queen. China said calmly, goodbye, poor little guy. With a single glance from China, Song Tianyang's entire body burst into flames and slowly turned to ashes. Now, go kill that SSS rank master immediately, there's no time to lose. She was about to move when her whole body suddenly trembled. She raised her hand to cover her forehead, damn it. You still want to defy me? You're useless now. Your Lord Qing Tian, I will personally kill him with your own hands, ha ha. Her eyes suddenly filled with sorrow, no. I don't want to. I don't want to hurt Lord Qing Tian. He's such a good man, he can't die. She glared at the 3 demon queens, raised her hand, and one of them was pierced through the chest by a musket and turned to ashes. The other 2 were shocked and immediately went to their defenses. Lady China, are you alright? Ding Miao wanted to continue killing them, but China suppressed her, her face contorted with rage. Bastard. You dare kill my subordinates. If it weren't for needing your body and soul to make that SSS rank master wary, I would have wiped you out long ago. At the same time, Queen Qingling's monster army and the army of the dead broke out into war, and the battlefield almost surrounded the entire East Sea city. Qin Tian was playing on his phone when he saw a video nearby showing an explosion in Song Tianyang's residential area. He immediately realized something was wrong. He looked at Mai, who was practicing kendo, to the side. Something's happened. Let's go. Mai nodded immediately, took off her practice clothes, put on a long trench coat, and followed Qin Tian out. When they arrived at Song Tianyang's residential area, they were shocked to find that it had been transformed into a world of flames. Ding Miao, wearing a miniskirt and a cropped tank top, stood on the roof of a high-rise building in the residential area, looking down at Qin Tian and Mai below. Lord Qin Tian, you've arrived too early. Are you in such a hurry to die? Chapter 35, Facing the Blazing Flames. A death line trembling with love. Burn! Burn! The sun fell from the sky, and the world turned into a sea of fire. Countless fire monsters emerged from the flames. They resembled humanoid demons, faceless, their bodies engulfed in flames, with ferocious claws and curved legs that seemed to be gathering power. At the same time, 2 fourth-tier monster queens also came out carrying weapons, one of whom was the blue flame queen whom they had met at the amusement park last time. Qin Tian observed his surroundings but did not see Song Tianyang, so it seemed he was dead. Only he and Mai could enter this area. The master of the security department was still outside, struggling with the situation. The other party is at least a 5th-tier queen, while the master of the East Sea City security department is at most a 4th tier. Even Song Tianyang was killed, so the head of the security department would also die if he came in. However, it's good that this is an independent world. Apart from these monsters, no one knows that I use my power. And they will all be killed by themselves. Qin Tian stood in the burning garden, about 100 meters away from Ding Miao. The firelight illuminated his sharp face and the long sword he slowly drew. I'm not here to die, I'm here to kill you, Demon Queen, Qin Tian said. He spread his legs, gripped his long sword, and stared at Ding Miao, the scorching wind making his clothes flutter. Ha 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 ha, kill me? Ding Miao sneered, are you going to kill this woman who loves you along with me? If necessary, I will, Qin Tian said calmly. No. You wouldn't. Ding Miao said smugly. If you really wanted to kill her too, you would have done it already. You wouldn't be hesitating like this. What a terrifying master. It's only been a short time since we last met, and you've awakened another SSS level talent. 3 SSS level talents in total. You're practically the best food in the world. Ding Miao Miao's face was flushed as she stared at Qin Tian with a mad expression, her slender hand covering her mouth. It's not certain who will die. Is that so? I am the embodiment of the sun, the queen born from the flames, China. Shina's eyes turned cold and arrogant. With a wave of her hand, a warhorse engulfed in flames appeared beside her. The flames burned out and transformed into armor that covered the warhorse. At the same time, her entire body was engulfed in flames, and countless sparks condensed, transforming into breastplates, armplates, skirt armor, and so on. Finally, the flames extended behind her, transforming into a crimson cloak. A crimson spear was drawn from the cloak and casually flicked, causing the tall buildings around her to explode with a deafening roar. She mounted the horse, pulled on the reins, and the warhorse neighed. My, are you sure you can handle entrusting those two queens to you? Qin Tian turned to look at Mai. Mai nodded, okay. Qin Tian smiled slightly and patted Mai's head. I believe in you. You are my servant, a flower that I nurture with love. You will surely bloom brilliantly. He glanced at the rooftop, where China's warhorse reared up, leaped into the air, its eyes widened, and slapped Mai's buttocks with a roar. Kill! Without a second thought, Mai activated her mystic eyes of death perception, her azure eyes mysterious and terrifying. She leaped toward the blue flame queen who had once humiliated her. This time, she's determined to avenge herself. For Lord Qin Tian, and even more so for myself. Qin Tian twirled his long sword and charged into the onrushing Hokage. He himself was the best bait, and almost all the Hokage chose Qin Tian. Qin Tian watched as the woman in hemp clothing leaped up towards the azure flame queen, a long sword wrapped in lightning in her hand. Her full curves and slender figure came into Qin Tian's view, and a smile seemed to appear on his lips. Who wouldn't love such a wonderful woman? The master of this world is really sick. In the previous life, he was forced to suppress his emotions, and in this life, he is actively suppressing his emotions. He opened his mystic eyes of death perception, looked at the flames that were attacking him and trying to trap him in place, and suddenly spun around, his longsword drawing a sharp arc of light as it cut along their death lines. The sounds of flames exploding and bones breaking under the blade mingled with screams. Ouch, that hurts. I'm going to die. What kind of power is that? No flame can survive under the mystic eyes of death perception. Seeing her subordinates being brutally murdered, China's pupils burned with fury. She raised her spear and descended from the sky, thrusting it towards Qin Tian. Boom! Intense columns of fire erupted from the ground. Qin Tian jumped out of the pillar of fire, looked up, and looked at Qina, who had also emerged from the pillar of fire. He grinned, and the whole world was swept by a fierce wind and gathered dark clouds. A fierce wind, carrying flames, surged towards China and her warhorse from all directions, like an enraged legion of berserkers. Such powerful wind-type talent. China raised her eyebrows slightly, but her determined gaze remained unchanged. Braving the gale, she charged towards Qin Tian, her spear piercing through his chest. Qin Tian ignored her completely. He stabbed China on the shoulder with his knife, then leaned close to her face, looked her straight in the eyes, and roared at her. Ding Miao Miao! You fucking wake up! Are you the kind of person who could be controlled by the demon queen? Didn't you want to make a contract with me? If you die, who will I make a contract with? Shina's eyes widened. She felt her soul waver and quickly drew her spear, putting distance between herself and Qin Tian. She looked at the wound on her shoulder, wanting it to heal, but found it was impossible. Her pupils contracted slightly. If she had erased Ding Miao Miao's consciousness and soul, she would have died from that knife wound. A sense of dread, as if I had just walked through the gates of hell, welled up from the bottom of my heart. She looked at Qin Tian again and trembled. His whole body was glowing with green light, and the wounds he had just sustained healed instantly. Monster! Are 3 masters with SSS rank talents really that terrifying? Despite being only at the 3rd rank, it instilled fear in her, a 5th rank queen who was about to break through to the 6th rank. Ding Miao Miao! When are you going to stop sleeping? Qin Tian's mystic eyes of death perception were fixed on Qina, but he was speaking to Ding Miao Miao. If you give up like this, the optimistic, energetic, and cheerful image you've built up in my mind these past few days will completely collapse. In my eyes, you'll become a useless person who only knows how to run away from difficulties, a small fry who gives up when faced with obstacles, and a coward who can't persevere. Ding Miao Miao! I don't believe you'll give up like this. As long as you don't give up, I have a way to save you. He widened his death perception mystic eyes. Summon your courage. Summon the courage you have every day to pursue me in front of my house, regardless of what others think. Hearing your energetic voice every morning fills me with energy too, so don't fucking give up like this. Ding Miao Miao, who was being suppressed by Qi Na, roared in her mind. I want to get out. I want to be with Lord Qin Tian. I also want Lord Qin Tian to pat my head, praise me, and affirm me. I don't want to die. Let me out. Qin Tian's pupils contracted, and the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. The death lines on Qi Na's body moved because Ding Miao Miao's resistance caused Qi Na's death lines to tremble. It seemed that he had found a way to kill Qi Na without harming Ding Miao Miao. Well done, Ding Miao Miao. Qin Tian raised his sword, his voice like thunder. Chapter 36. Two souls completely merged. She will burn the entire world. Dark clouds shrouded the world of flames, and the next moment, a heavy rain began to fall. The raindrops fell on Mai's body, which made her a little unhappy, but it also made her beauty seem more real. She tidied her long sideburns with a troubled expression. She glanced sideways at the battle between Qin Tian and Queen China. Queen China's attacks were very strong, but as long as she couldn't kill Lord Qin Tian instantly, Lord Qin Tian would be invincible. You guys are really taking your time, not trying to ambush me. Mai held her long sideburns back with a hairpin, the hairpin being carved with shimmering butterflies. If the two of us at level 4 were to fight you, a level 3, and we still had to rely on a sneak attack, even if we killed you, we wouldn't feel any sense of accomplishment, the Azure Flame Queen said calmly. Her long sword ignited with blue flames once more, and she stared coldly at Mai, continuing, why would such an excellent servant like you follow your master? Why not come to our side? Here, you're free and unrestrained, free from the rules of human society. If you like a particular master, just grab him. Mai chuckled and said, no need, I quite like this master. I've been very happy these past few days. She suddenly mocked the two queens, her eyes gleaming mischievously. You probably don't know how happy it is to be with your master, do you? The two of you are glued together, skin to skin, kissing, getting to know each other intimately, and bringing each other pleasure. Oh. Right. You are demons, not monsters, a group of hermaphroditic monsters who can only. Clang. The Azure Flame Queen, her face contorted with rage, swung her sword at Mai, but it was blocked by Mai's long sword. Did you hit a nerve? Mai's lips curled up slightly. Shut up, you lowly human. The Azure Flame Queen gritted her teeth as swords clashed, sparks flying. She chased Mai all the way, enjoying the thrill of crushing her opponent with her strength, feeling extremely smug. Although Mai's growth these past few days has been quite astonishing, she is now able to withstand my attacks. But what if you can block your own sword? They'll still be under my thumb. While suppressing Mai, she said to another queen, Ziying, don't interfere. I'm going to tear her to pieces and scatter her ashes. Ziying shrugged and spread her hands, saying, whatever. If I find anything wrong, I'll still take action. Xinghu sneered, impossible. Mai looked at the arrogant blue flame in front of her and chuckled. Her mystic eyes of death perception were constantly observing the death lines on the other's body. As Qinghua grew increasingly arrogant, more and more death lines appeared on her body. Suddenly, Mai dodged Qinghua's slash, her long sword lightly slicing along the line of death, and Qinghua's left arm shattered in the next instant. Qinghua's pupils constricted, and she roared at Ziying, this guy has S-rank talent. Save me. Ziying's expression hardened, and she immediately pulled out a dagger, gripped it in her hand, and transformed into a streak of purple light, stabbing towards Mai's back, the tip of the blade aimed directly at Mai's slender nape. Mai smiled slightly, releasing lightning from her entire body. The lightning entered Ziying's body, slowing her movements and giving Mai ample time to dodge. During this period, under Qin Tian's optimization, she did not strengthen her physical defense, but rather enhanced her nerve reaction sensitivity, physical agility, and a certain amount of strength. She's like a glass cannon now. Anyone who gets hit by her will be seriously injured or even die. As for getting injured, she had Qin Tian supporting her, so she wasn't afraid at all. Ziying's attack missed, and she was filled with shame and anger. She turned to look at Mai, who had dodged, and chased after her again. Purple fireflies floated around her, like elves. These fireflies flew toward Mai at an extremely fast speed. Xinghua glanced at his shattered left arm, gripped the longsword in his right hand, let out a roar, and followed Ziying as she charged towards Mai. Mai watched as the death lines on the two of them continued to increase, and she secretly sneered in her heart. Are you so easily provoked? How embarrassing. Mai twirled the long sword in her hand, and just as the firefly was about to touch her, she slashed down along the line of death. The firefly seemed to wither away, turning into sparks and disappearing. The sight of fireflies disappearing one by one was unbelievable to Ziying. Why? Why was this woman able to shatter her power so easily? She gritted her teeth and continued her attack, the dagger falling towards Mai's heart. To her horror, the opponent's longsword came straight at the tip of her blade, then her dagger shattered, her arm was cleaved in two, blood splattered, and her entire right arm was severed. Why? That knife doesn't look that sharp, so how could it do something like that? Mai chuckled. This mystic eyes of death perception is really useful. All you have to do is cut along the line of death, and you can cut through anything. She brushed past Ziying, turned around and saw the line of death on the back of Ziying's neck. The blade slid along the line of death, and the queen's head, with a pillar of blood, shot into the sky. After killing Ziying, she smiled slightly, her long hair fluttering in the wind. She dodged Qinghua's sword thrust, the flames burning away her trench coat and revealing her delicate body, which was only wearing underwear. Her lace-trimmed lingerie restrained her fragility, protecting her from the slashes of Qinghua's sword. She came up behind Qinghua and looked at the huge death line that stretched down from Qinghua's head. With a flash of light, the azure flame queen split into two. After finishing all this, Mai took deep breaths, letting the heavy rain soak her body, her chest heaving, her underwear almost unable to hold her up. She looked excited. The mystic eyes of death perception are so powerful. Under the mystic eyes of death perception, the fourth-tier queen was as fragile as paper, crumbling at the slightest touch. And what about Lord Qin Tian? She looked around, searching for Qin Tian in China. When she saw them, her eyes widened. So strong. Each of Qin Tian's strikes was accompanied by a blinding arc of light, and raindrops on the blade splashed out in circles. Queen China was equally impressive riding her warhorse, she moved with even greater agility. Even though Lord Qin Tian used the gale to restrict the opponent's movements, create a vacuum zone, and tear the opponent's body apart, the opponent was still able to dodge. Even if she manages to dodge Qin Tian's blade, she will be covered in wounds. Rainwater mixed with Qina's fiery blood condensed on the ground. Qina's blood was as viscous as oil, settling in the rain puddles and shining with a crimson light. Qin Tian looked at Qina and said calmly, "You're already finished. If you continue, I'll kill you soon." China's eyes were bloodshot as she shouted angrily, "Aren't you afraid of killing her?" Qin Tian chuckled, "You know nothing about my power? You dare to hunt me without knowing my power? You're far too confident in yourself." He pointed to his glasses and said softly, "Mystic eyes of death perception, my third SSS rank talent. It can see the death line of everything. The eye of death, as long as something exists, I can kill it as long as I find its death line." Qin Tian pointed at Qina and said contemptuously, "Ding Miaomio is still alive. I can already see her death line. So, I just need to avoid these death lines and kill you. That's also something I can do." China's eyes widened, "No. Impossible. How could you possibly awaken such an excessive talent? If you move again, I'll kill her right now. We'd rather die together." Qin Tian's lips curled up slightly, "A very wise choice, but it's too late. Your wavering just now made things even clearer for me. Kill you, not kill Ding Miaomio's deathline. Indra's wrath. Kill." Riding on her warhorse, Qina was filled with confusion. How could that human hit her from so far away? A crimson light appeared before her eyes, it was her blood. Thick, hot, glowing blood clung to her face and stained her eyes, turning the whole world crimson, as if the entire world were on fire. Am I going to die? No. No. Even if it means death, I will ignite this world. She roared, using her last strength to set her body ablaze, setting the world ablaze. If we're going to die, we'll all die together. At this moment, she chose to merge with Ding Miaomiao, becoming one with her. She ignited their souls together, a process that, once begun, was irreversible. The towering pillar of fire broke through the barrier, resembling a candle flame standing in the center of Donghai City, with flames spreading in all directions. She laughed loudly, looking at Qin Tian, who was engulfed in flames, her eyes filled with love. What a powerful master! To have driven me to this point, forcing me to unleash the Queen's heart, which can destroy everything. Unfortunately, we are destined to be enemies. Goodbye, Lord Qin Tian. After completely merging with Ding Miaomiao, I felt your love for her, and her love for you. No wonder you were so hard for me to control. You are really different from those other masters. Lord Qin Tian, Ding Miaomiao is no longer destined to form a contract with you. Please leave this place quickly. I don't want to hurt you in the end. Qin Tian glared at her and roared, "Don't spout those self-pity words. I said I would save you. You're destined to be my servant. Don't even think about escaping." He grabbed the woman by the neck and plunged the blade into her chest. Chapter 37 I love the way you kill me. The blade that pierced through the eye of death instantly obliterated the queen's irreversible heart. Qin Tian drew his long sword, held Ding Miaomiao in one arm, and looked at her pale face, tears streaming down his cheeks. "It's a pity that we couldn't completely kill Queen China, allowing her remnant soul to merge with Ding Miaomiao. This queen is really crazy. She thought she was going to die, so she self-destructed. If I hadn't been able to see the eye of death, she would have really succeeded." Qin Tian looked around and saw that the surrounding area for several miles was engulfed in flames, which even the torrential rains of Indra's wrath could not extinguish. After all, heavy rain is just a secondary ability of this power. Its main ability is to control the wind, use vacuum to strangle it, or generate strong electric current through wind-to-wind friction. Now, the person in my arms has also changed their interface. Alternative attendants, Ding Miaomiao Qin. Age, 18. Talent level, a level heavily tribulation fire, S level candle sun, can grant one of three abilities, S level black sun, S level natural flame transformation, S level heaven and earth shattering, or SS level black sky illumination fire, SS level undying fire, SS level ashes of all things. Class, 3-5. Height, 165 centimeters. Weight, 47. Measurements, 83-60-82. Appearance rating, 93. Favorability, 100 plus. Qin Tian's lips twitched involuntarily. What's going on? One body, two souls? Can I choose two more talents? The second one is even SS level, with a 100-fold return. What level of ability do I have? Am I becoming more and more abnormal? At this moment, Mai walked over and looked worriedly at Ding Miaomiao, who was unconscious in Qin Tian's arms. How is the situation? Qin Tian didn't know how to answer, so he said, "The bad news is that Queen China is not dead." Mai frowned, raised her long sword, and revealed her mystic eyes of death perception. "Then why not kill her?" Qin Tian said helplessly, "The good news is that Qina and Ding Miaomiao have merged, they are inseparable, and then they both fell in love with me." Mai froze, unsure whether to raise the knife that was halfway in the air or put it down. "Isn't it that exaggerated?" Mai asked after a while. Qin Tian shrugged, "That's the truth. We don't need to worry about her attacking us again. Let's leave here first. The security bureau will be here soon after they discover the domain has disappeared. I don't want to reveal my secret of having several SSS level talents, or the fusion of the human and monster queen souls. If we're discovered, they'll definitely send a 7th or 8th tier master, and we'll both be arrested and dissected." Mai nodded, took Qin Tian's hand, glanced around to find her bearings, and said, "Follow me." Soon, they left the danger zone and were on their way home. The flames just now blew up all the vehicles within a few miles, and the Mercedes they drove there was reduced to a shell. The surrounding residential buildings were all destroyed. If the security bureau hadn't evacuated the residents early on, who knows how many people would have died. Qin Tian could only sigh that this world was too dangerous. Cars could explode at any moment, houses could be destroyed at any moment, and lives could be lost in an instant. If Qin Tian hadn't chosen the SSS rank Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, he really wouldn't know how to save Ding Miaomiao. He probably would have had to kill her. Looking at the girl in his arms, who looked so peaceful, he couldn't help but feel heartache. It would be too cruel to kill such a girl. If that's the case, he'll probably hallucinate every morning when he wakes up hearing Ding Miaomiao calling him to get up, and then he'll be in constant pain. However, he also needs to be mentally prepared that such things will definitely happen again in the future, and he will definitely encounter that day when he has to kill such a lovely girl. After they returned home, Qin Tian leaned back on the sofa, held Ding Miaomiao in his arms, touched her somewhat cold face, and turned on the TV. It was broadcasting live footage of the Security Bureau and Crisis Bureau servants and masters entering the fire. The Security Bureau is searching for survivors, while the Crisis Bureau is looking for clues about Captain Song Tianyang. As a result, no one from either department could be found. The fire destroyed everything, and all traces disappeared in the blaze. That evening, Donghai City Television broadcast the announcement of Captain Song Tianyang's death in the line of duty, prompting the entire city to mourn for him. Looking at Song Tianyang's smiling face on TV, Qin Tian couldn't help but feel a little emotional. What's there to mourn about such a piece of trash? Suddenly, Ding Miaomiao spoke, her voice cold. Qin Tian was stunned for a moment, looking at Ding Miao Miao in his arms, who had opened her eyes and was looking at the scene on the TV with disdain. "You're awake?" Qin Tian asked. Ding Miao Miao glanced at Qin Tian, her pretty face slightly flushed, and muttered, "I woke up a long time ago, but your arms were too comfortable, so I pretended to be asleep for a long time. But when I saw that trashy guy was on TV, I couldn't help but speak up." Qin Tian swallowed hard. "Are you Ding Miao Miao or Qina?" Ding Miao Miao blinked. "Who am I in your eyes?" Qin Tian was speechless for a moment, then tried to say, "Qina?" Ding Miao Miao pouted, looking disgruntled. "I'm Ding Miao Miao. Why doesn't Lord Qin Tian recognize me? Could it be that Lord Qin Tian likes that stinky queen, Qina? Wah-ah! Poor Miao Miao." Qin Tian quickly comforted her. No, no, no. I like Miao Miao. I should have killed that stinky queen, Qina, back then." Ding Miao Miao's expression turned displeased again, as expected. "You like Ding Miao Miao, don't you? You even called me a stinky queen. I'll bite you to death. I'll eat your blood and flesh." As she spoke, she jumped up, pinned Qin Tian to the sofa, and started biting him, or rather, kissing him all the way south. Ding Miao Miao licked her lips and chuckled. "Actually, I'm Qina. That girl, Ding Miao Miao, fainted from happiness when she found herself being held by you, so I came out." Qin Tian swallowed hard, looking at the charming girl in front of him. Her expression was arrogant, yet she was trying to please him. The stark contrast was incredibly stimulating. "Why did you merge with Ding Miao Miao? You should be stronger fighting with your own body, right?" Qina leaned against Qin Tian, greedily inhaling the scent of his neck, and whispered, "That would be stronger, but you would kill me instantly. Your 3 SSS level talents are terrifying. I still have a chance if I merge with Ding Miao Miao, but that's all in the past. Now, I just want to love you properly. You are the best master I have ever met in my life. You are incomparable to trash like Song Tianyang." Qin Tian asked curiously, "What did Song Tianyang do? Why do you dislike him so much?" China snorted coldly. "He knew I was coming, so he abandoned his servants and ran away. Is there any more disgusting trash than that? Isn't this just like a master and his attendant going out on a mission, only to encounter a group of high-ranking male goblin monsters? The master, out of fear of death, turns around and runs away, leaving the attendant to face the high-ranking male goblin monsters. You can imagine what the result will be?" Qin Tian thought about it and realized that those servants would definitely suffer a terrible fate. Qina looked at Qin Tian's profile, hugged his neck, and kissed him. Their eyes met, and their breaths mingled on each other's faces. Qina's eyes were filled with infatuation. "But I'm sure you won't. You could have easily killed me, but you chose the most troublesome method to save her. You're really different from those trash masters." She hugged Qin Tian tightly and whispered in his ear, "I really love you, I love you to death. Please teach me a lesson with the intention of killing me. I enjoy the feeling of being tortured to death by you. The way you squeezed my throat and stabbed me in the chest at the last moment was so cool." Mai, who had just come up from the underground training ground, was about to tell Qin Tian that she needed to optimize the strength of her knees when she saw the scene in the living room. Her pretty face instantly turned red, and she turned back to the underground training ground to continue training. Chapter 38. Whoever loves more is the master. Ding Miao Miao remained expressionless amidst the raging flames. She looked at Qin Tian across from her, who hadn't done anything, and thought to herself, "Are you just going to stand there and watch me burn to the ground? However, it doesn't matter, because this suits my taste. Let me die together with Queen China. Lord Qin Tian, perhaps I cannot tell you what my love truly is. All I can tell you is how I feel right now." At this moment, it felt like a steel knife stuck in my throat. I couldn't breathe, but as long as I had a breath left, I would fight on relentlessly until you survived safely. When I was caught by Qina and she tried to harm me, it felt like I was drowning. The more I struggled, the more suffocated I became. Just when I was about to sink, it brought me back to my senses. "Ding Miao Miao. You fucking wake up. Are you the kind of person who can be controlled by the demon queen? Didn't you want to make a contract with me? If you die, who will I make a contract with? This confession is so exciting. Isn't that absolutely insane? Because it is developing perfectly in the direction I most desire. I am a princess in distress, and you are my superhero. But when things get really bad, they get so bad that I feel completely helpless. When I'm about to destroy everything, I want to scream, 'Get out of here!' I didn't want to think about whether you would survive, I just wanted you to survive. you have no idea how scared I was. Are you just going to stand there and watch me burn to the ground? But it doesn't matter, because this way of dying for love suits my taste. I love you deeply. The moment I looked at you, I could barely breathe. That's how I met you, no one could stop it. Since I met you, I have had that warm and intoxicating feeling. You care about me, love me, praise me, and help me. Yes, that's exactly how it feels. The wonderful things I once had are now about to be lost. After being controlled by China, I completely changed my attitude. We attacked each other, hurled insults, tore at each other's flesh, bit and clawed, wrestled and tore at each other, and tortured one another, just like in. Ding Xiaomi woke up in the early morning looking completely bewildered. She saw Qin Tian lying next to the bed and instinctively said something. Good morning, senior. Qin Tian opened his eyes and smiled slightly. Good morning, Miao Miao. Ding Miao Miao nervously covered her face with the blanket, secretly glancing at Qin Tian, and whispered, So, I'm still alive? Qin Tian nodded. Yes, you are still alive. Shi Na is now a part of you. Ah. Ding Miao Miao cried out, does that mean I'm not pure anymore? Am I going to be controlled by her again and hurt my senior brother? I don't want to. I don't want to. Qin Tian hugged the flustered Ding Miao Miao tightly, pressed her against his chest, and whispered, Don't worry, it won't happen. You are the true owner of this body. Ding Miao Miao gently raised her eyes, looked at Qin Tian with concern, and asked timidly, Really? Qin Tian nodded, Of course it's true, otherwise would you be able to talk to me so easily? Do you think you're being controlled by Qina? Ding Miao Miao tried moving her body and felt no discomfort at all, and a smile finally appeared on her face. It really is. She happily hugged Qin Tian and jumped around on the bed, making the mattress creak. Suddenly, she cried out in pain. It hurts. Qin Tian frowned slightly. This shouldn't be the case, he had clearly healed her injuries from last night. She looked down, her face flushed, wrapped herself in the blanket, ran to the floor, and nervously looked at Qin Tian. That wasn't a dream? What dream? We attacked each other, hurled insults, tore at each other's flesh, clawed and bit, wrestled together, beat each other, and tormented each other. The more she talked, the more shy she became, until finally her voice was so soft that even a mosquito couldn't hear it. Qin Tian scratched his head. Well, you seemed to have a nightmare last night. You were hitting and making a scene at me, and I couldn't take it, so I had to fight back. Of course, I've healed all your injuries. Ding Miao Miao blinked, looking at Qin Tian with a skeptical expression. Really? Real. Why were you able to cure them? You'll know when you become my servant. Fine, I'm already in the form of a senior brother now, you can't abandon me. Otherwise, I'll bite you to death. Ding Miao Miao bared her cute fangs and pretended to be fierce, which was quite adorable. But as soon as she finished speaking, she regretted it. Never mind, I won't bite you anymore. It would hurt me to hurt you. Qin Tian smiled and sat on the edge of the bed, stroking Ding Miao Miao's head. If you won't bite me, then I'll bite you. Ding Miao Miao trembled with fear, hugging her arms tightly. Don't bite me. I'm afraid of pain. Ha ha ha. Qin Tian laughed as he stood up, walked towards the door, and said, Hurry up and get dressed, it's time to eat. We still have to go to the association to make a contract later. Okay. Ding Miao Miao replied loudly. After Qin Tian left, Ding Miao Miao glanced at the rags scattered on the ground, swallowed hard, and wondered just how crazy things had been last night. Do we hurt each other? Soon, she found brand new clothes on the bedside table. They seemed to belong to one of Qin Tian's other servants. Although they didn't fit her very well, they were still wearable. As she struggled with whether to wear white or black stockings, a familiar, terrifying voice echoed in her mind. Ding Miao Miao, wear black stockings. That's more in line with my queenly style. Oh my god. You're still alive. Ding Miao Miao was startled and plopped down on the bed. Of course I'm alive, because my soul has merged with yours, we are inseparable, China said calmly. Humph. You can't control me. Ding Miao Miao said firmly, I will not let you hurt my senior brother again. Hee hee, China chuckled, I won't hurt him anymore. After all, I've fallen in love with him. The way he killed me was so cool. I'll remember it for the rest of my life. If you don't want me to control this body, then don't be careless. Once I love Qin Tian more than you, this body will be mine, ha ha ha. I want to fight him to the death, to ravage each other, that feeling is just too awesome. Upon hearing China's insane remarks, Ding Miao Miao muttered under her breath, what a pervert. I can hear you, China said coldly. We are one, I know what you're thinking. Why? Ding Meow Meow retorted, why do you know what I think, but I don't know what you're thinking? Ha? China sneered, it's just that I say whatever I think, unlike you humans who like to keep things to yourself. Ding Meow Meow pouted and picked up the white silk. Hey! Wear black stockings. White stockings don't suit my style. I'm the junior sister. Of course I'll wear cute white stockings. Hee. Ding Meow Meow was incredibly smug. Now I'm the owner of this body, you can't control me. I'm going to get close to my senior brother. Just you wait and see la la la. You bastard. One day, I'll drag you down from your position. China's vicious voice rang out. Don't even think about it. Ding Meow Meow skipped downstairs and, with Mai on either side of Qin Tian, happily ate breakfast. Because all the cars at home were destroyed and Akemi's Panamera hadn't arrived yet, they had to ride on Mai's motorcycle. Qin Tian hugged Mai's waist, and Ding Meow Meow hugged Qin Tian's waist. Ding Meow Meow shouted loudly with great energy. Let's go! I'm going to form a contract with my senior brother. Mai said angrily, shut up. It's so annoying. When they arrived at the Master's Servant Association, they received devastating news. Qin Tian grabbed the reviewer's shoulder in a fit of rage. What? The battle ahead is dangerous? Akemi and Aki are in danger? Chapter 39 Battlefield Orders. Another world. When Qin Tian arrived at the Master Servant Association, he was met with a desolate scene. Many of the servants wore expressions of despair, holding in their hands an urgent red-headed mobilization order. That transfer order was well known in the circles of servants. Once you received it, it was tantamount to a death sentence. That's a suicide squad deployment order. This will only occur in the event of a major crisis. Not only the servants, but even the masters were all distressed, angry, and a little desperate. Even Qin Tian was in great distress, because he had just learned that the situation at the front was critical, and the Queen of the Azure Antelopes had gone mad, leading her army in a death charge. Yesterday alone, more than 50,000 humans died and more than 10,000 monsters died. Such a high number of casualties in one day is unprecedented. Even when the monster queens want to hunt humans, they do so slowly, taking a piece of meat and leaving, looking for an opportunity to break through the defenses and then enter the city to plunder. They rarely attack like this, going berserk. They didn't seem to be there for food, they seemed to be there to kill for the sake of killing. The entire city of Donghai was placed on the highest alert, and everyone was mobilized. Masters, whether or not they were on rest, were required to be ready to receive orders, accept missions, and go to the battlefield at any time. Qin Tian had just received news that the Crisis Management Bureau and the Security Bureau were coordinating their efforts, with the vast majority of their combat forces being deployed to the front lines to command operations, leaving only a small number of stability maintenance personnel behind. The matter of the Demon Queen in the city came to an end after the discovery of China's desiccated corpse. The two departments didn't know why China's body had become like that, but since the Demon Queen in the city was already dead, there was no need to continue wasting combat power, and they had to be deployed to the battlefield. The mysterious death of the 5th-tier queen means that there is no longer any major crisis within the city. On the contrary, the 6th-tier queen outside the city is the most terrifying. A 6th-tier queen's frenzied battle is extremely brutal. Every master in Tokai Castle has received the news that the battle is fierce and the death toll in Tokai Castle is expected to reach 1 million. The last time the 7th-tier mermaid queen came, she didn't cause this much damage. That's because the mermaid queen only came to have a meal and then left. But the Azure Antelope Queen is in this state. She's determined to fight you to the death. The three people were in the lounge, their faces solemn. Qin Tian looked at the transfer order in his hand. Today he was going to the battlefield in a military vehicle to join the East China Sea branch of the Crisis Department and the Queen's 16th Division. Akemi and Aki will also come along to receive the mission. Ding Meow Meow looked at Qin Tian with a worried expression and said softly, senior brother, China told me that Qing Ling was so crazy mainly because she discovered that China's life signal had disappeared and wanted to avenge China, so she did this. Qin Tian was slightly surprised and chuckled, I didn't expect you demons to be so loyal to each other. Ding Meow Meow was silent for a moment before saying, China said, of course, we queens value relationships the most, and we usually share benefits, just like. Qin Tian knew what she wanted to say. It was like when he killed that rabbit, a whole bunch of queens came to hunt him down. It must have been the rabbit that spread the message before it died. When will humanity be able to unite like this? Masters want to recruit more servants to make their lives easier and happier. The servants wanted to be loved, to be recognized, to be cared for, and to find meaning in their lives. When faced with danger, the master's first thought is to run. When faced with benefits, the master thinks of keeping them all for themselves, or to those close to them. Song Tianyang was like that. When China investigated, she found that he wanted to take all the credit for killing the queen. He contacted a high-ranking master who was far away from Donghai City. That master was his teacher. The nearest place is Nanling City, with a population of 50 million, where there are high-ranking masters who can seek help. With Donghai City in dire straits, Nanling City received no further support beyond the initial troops it sent out. In their eyes, helping is a favor, not helping is their right. However, Qin Tian knew that once Donghai City killed Qingling, the people of Nanling City would definitely come out to share the spoils. The materials for a 6th-tier monster queen are incredibly expensive. Ding Miao Miao hesitated for a moment and said, "If I let Qina speak to Qingling, maybe they will withdraw their troops." Qin Tian gave Ding Miao Miao a deep look. "There's no need." Ding Miao Miao asked in confusion, "Why?" At this moment, Mai said calmly, "Since we're going to fight, then let's fight. Demons and humans have always been enemies, it's a matter of life and death. If we don't kill them today, we'll still have to kill them later. Don't you think it's troublesome to make peace with demons?" With a smile on her face, she hugged Qin Tian from behind, her pretty face rubbing against his neck, and whispered, "Besides, Lord Qin Tian is going with us this time, so no one will be in danger. Xina has already been defeated by Lord Qin Tian, so why should we be afraid of Qingling?" Suddenly, Ding Miao Miao's face flushed red, her expression one of disbelief, and she bit her lip tightly, as if she had something to say. Qin Tian glanced at Ding Miao Miao. "Tell me what Xina said." Ding Miao Miao stammered. "Xina said that if you take a liking to Qingling, she can act as a matchmaker and bring you two together. She said Qingling is very cute and very likable." Qin Tian was speechless. "Miao Miao, tell China. A human can't, or at least shouldn't, fall in love with the demon queen." "I can't do that." Ding Miao Miao suddenly widened her eyes, bit her lip tightly, and said with a sad expression, She said that you didn't tell her that last night, sob sob. Senior brother. Why didn't you tell me that she could actually sneak out while I was unconscious? You guys were all so crazy last night. You didn't even take me with you." Qin Tian stared at Ding Miao Miao in surprise. "Your main point is that you're not included in the game?" Mai coughed lightly, looking embarrassed. "As a servant, I am not qualified to comment on master's hobbies, but last night it was indeed a bit too much. I could hear it even in the underground training ground." Qin Tian felt his face burning with embarrassment. He had been too carried away yesterday, only thinking about killing Qina, and hadn't expected the commotion to be so big. He quickly corrected her. "If it weren't for the fusion of Qina and Ding Miao Miao's souls, I wouldn't have any feelings for Qina at all. Qina, you're only alive now because of Ding Miao Miao, don't forget that." The three waited in the association's lounge until evening when they received a message telling them to get in the car. Qin Tian looked at the bus armed with steel in front of him. Inside were 3 masters and their 10 attendants, one of whom he recognized. The short-haired master who made a contract with Aki and came to cause trouble. He also saw Qin Tian, glanced at Mai and Miao Mao beside Qin Tian, his eyes filled with jealousy and resentment. After getting on the bus, Qin Tian found a secluded corner where the 4 groups of people ignored each other. As the bus started moving, they headed outside. The streets on both sides of the bus gradually became poorer. As the master, the place where he lived and studied was the most prosperous and safest area in the entire Tokai city. The surrounding area is a slum, a place where women with no talent, no resources, and no ability live. Even the Death Army doesn't want such trash. These women were like rats, only able to hide in their houses, stealing glances at the bus, envying the masters on board, and feeling jealous of the servants who had been contracted. The bus continued forward, and the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. Everywhere there were trenches, where female soldiers were hidden. They had no talent, no master to command them, and their only weapons were the large caliber guns they carried. Although this type of firearm has limited damage to monsters, it is the only weapon they can use. There was also a row of howitzers, waiting for the order to fire. At this moment, Qin Tian could see the wall, which was hundreds of meters high and made of reinforced concrete. It was like a cage, protecting them inside. Looking beyond the high wall, you can see shooting stars occasionally streaking across the sky. After passing through the checkpoint on the high wall, we finally arrived outside. A shooting star streaked across the sky, flying towards us. Chapter 40 Is Ding Miao Miao a wow type personality? A shooting star streaks across the sky and falls to the ground. If it were a part of the scenery, what a beautiful moment that would be. But this meteor was no ordinary meteor, it was a spear fired by the Antelope Knights. Queen Chingy is not the only one capable of launching spears over extremely long distances. All the queens under her command are such experts. Each spear has the power of a high-yield missile. The moment they saw the shooting star fall, most of the people present felt despair. Am I going to die as soon as I leave the city? Without the protection of the city walls, they were like girls who had lost their clothes. Only 3 people remained unmoved. A girl with an impatient expression drew her long sword with a whoosh, cleaved open the roof of the bus, leaped into the sky, and transformed into a flash of lightning to meet the shooting star. A pitch-black night sky, a bright moon, a slender girl, a devastating meteor, and the booming thunder. Everyone watched this breathtaking, deafening scene. The purple-silver blade flashed through the meteor, which turned into countless stardust fragments that scattered among the stardust. In the stardust, the girl was like a shimmering crimson, inspiring awe. Mai landed on the roof of the carriage, gently sheathed her long sword, her eyes filled with disdain. Wow! This lady is amazing. She can cleave through an unstoppable meteor spear with a single strike. The servants here look like fledglings in front of her. Ding Meow Meow's eyes lit up as she stared at Mai's back, jumping up and down excitedly. Mai, who was being praised, chuckled lightly and said indifferently, "It's all right." Ding Meow Meow exclaimed in surprise again, "Wow! Sister Mai is so modest. Such a beautiful slash is only okay in your eyes. Then your most beautiful slash must be dazzling to our eyes." Mai was a little embarrassed and said loudly, "How annoying. I was just protecting Lord Qin Tian." "Stop talking." Ding Meow Meow turned to Qin Tian and exclaimed, "Wow! Are all of Lord Qin Tian's servants this loyal? Did I embarrass Lord Qin Tian by not intervening just now? Wah! Lord Qin Tian, please don't dislike me. I'll definitely perform better next time." Qin Tian smiled and patted Ding Meow Meow's head. All right, stop talking. Didn't you notice everyone's looking at us?" Ding Meow Meow said again, "Wow! Lord Qin Tian is so humble. He could have arrogantly slapped them in the face and proudly told them that you saved them, but he didn't fight for it or compete for it. He is truly admirable." Qin Tian's lips twitched slightly. Was Ding Meow Meow too lively? Why do you have to exclaim wow about everything? The short-haired master turned his head away and sneered, "Don't be so smug. I was just stunned just now, otherwise my servant could have resolved the crisis." Ding Meow Meow stared wide-eyed at the short-haired master. "Wow! Master, you're clearly shocked, but you're pretending to be relaxed. Your expression control is truly outstanding." The short-haired master gritted his teeth in anger. "Mind your own business. Don't think that just because you have a master servant, I can't do anything to you." Ding Meow Meow mocked again. "Wow! Master, are you really that assertive? You're so manly. Next time there's danger, you'll definitely be the first one to rush in." The man with the buzz cut opened his mouth as if to say something, but then closed it. If he admits it, wouldn't he be being taken advantage of? If he doesn't admit it, wouldn't he be saying he's not a man? Keeping quiet is the best case scenario. Qin Tian couldn't help but chuckle when he heard Ding Meow Meow's seemingly complimentary but actually sarcastic tone. I never expected Ding Meow Meow to have this side to her. A master officer at the door walked over with a smile and greeted Qin Tian, saying, "Thank you for what you just did. Your servants saved us all." Qin Tian waved his hand. "It's nothing." The officer smiled and handed a small black bottle to Qin Tian. "This is a military-grade mana potion. If you're running low on mana on the battlefield, take it. I hope it helps." The masters around them stared wide-eyed at the small black bottle. This is a lifesaver. A bottle of this medicine would fetch at least $1 million on the black market. On the battlefield, what a master fears most is running out of magic power. Not only does it mean losing its own combat ability, but it also indirectly reduces the combat ability of its servants. A qualified master will infuse magical energy into their servants through incantations. This not only accelerates the servants' training speed but also enhances their combat power using their own innate abilities. Servants can also accelerate their training by sacrificing themselves, converting magical energy into their own combat power. Of course, they don't have Qin Tian's SSS level healing ability, which can instantly heal the servants' injuries and enhance their abilities anytime, anywhere. Qin Tian did not refuse. After receiving the small black bottle and thanking the officer, he returned to his car. This medicine is quite effective. While SSS-level talents are powerful, they also consume an enormous amount of magic power. He's only at the 3rd rank, his magic reserves are still too low. The world outside the wall is simply another world. Looking out the window from the car, all I saw were lush weeds, and I wondered how many lives were buried beneath the soil. Moreover, those weeds might be hiding monsters, ready to attack you at any moment. Apart from the one with the buzz cut, the other 2 masters in the car thanked Qin Tian. Their eyes were full of envy and amazement as they looked at Mai. They then looked at their servants, who all lowered their heads in shame. They had absolutely no chance of stopping that meteor once it hit, few of them would have survived. After about an hour's drive, they finally arrived at their destination. Crisis Department, East Sea City Branch, Section 16, against the Queen. There weren't many people in the camp, maybe only a couple hundred. However, among these 100 or 200 people, there are more than 50 masters. Everyone was covered in wounds and looked exhausted. Their servants fared even worse, some had missing limbs, their bodies were wrapped in bandages, and their eyes were empty. Such crippled servants all meet a pitiful end. If their master is unwilling to pay for their treatment, they will be forced to retire from the army and take on ordinary jobs in the city, earning a meager salary just enough to cover their living expenses. Then, when the Demon Queen appears, they will be the first to be killed or eaten. Led by a servant wearing a dark black trench coat, Qin Tian and his group arrived at a tent. Lord Qin Tian, this is your temporary residence. Your attendants Wang Mingmei and Yuan Yaji are already waiting for you inside. Get some rest. You will probably be given a mission soon. After speaking, the trenchcoat attendant left the group and returned to his work. Qin Tian led the 2 into the tent and saw Akemi and Aki looking exhausted. They were sitting on the edge of the bed, heads down, shoulders slumped, as if they had been hollowed out. Only when they noticed the commotion at the door did they raise their eyes and see Qin Tian Ho. A light appeared in her empty eyes. Mingmei rushed towards Qin Tian, hugged him tightly, and cried out in tears. Lord Qin Tian, you finally arrived. Without you by my side, I'm almost withering away. Aki slowly walked over and smiled slightly at Qin Tian. Good evening, Lord Qin Tian. It's a pleasure to see you again. She turned to look at Mai, a playful look in her eyes. Sister, have you been quite satisfied these past few nights? Mai frowned and snorted, so annoying. You bring this up the moment we meet? I thought you'd been gang raped by a demon when I saw how dead you looked. Aki's lips twitched slightly, but seeing her sister's radiant face, she knew she must have been optimized quite a bit, so she decided not to hold it against her. She looked at Ding Miomio and said softly, You've finally gained Lord Qin Tian's approval. Congratulations. Ding Miomio chuckled, Sister Aki, you've worked so hard these past few days. Now that we're here, things will be much easier for you. I'm really strong now. While comforting Mingmei, Qin Tian rolled his eyes at Ding Miomio. Are you satisfied with her power? I haven't infused you with magic power yet, you'll be even stronger later. Ding Miaomio's eyes lit up, and she put her little fist to her chest, exclaiming, Wow! Senior brother's magic is that powerful? Could it be that the sister's second awakening wasn't a coincidence? Wow! Wow! Senior brother is simply the #1 master in the world. He has such good character. He's so talented. And he's handsome too. Wah, Miao has used up all her luck in this life to meet such an amazing master as senior brother. Even Qin Tian felt a little flattered by such praise, and he scratched his head sheepishly. Well enough. Wow. Senior brother is so humble. He's already the best in the world, yet he still considers himself second. It's unbelievable. Stop, stop, stop. Qin Tian quickly interrupted. Stop praising me, let's get down to business. Wow. Senior brother is so dedicated. You've just arrived on the battlefield and you're already working. You're a role model for all those other masters who just fall asleep the moment they step on the pillow. Qin Tian ignored Ding Miomio and, holding Mingmei, asked, What happened? With your abilities and personality, you shouldn't be so negative. Akemi choked. Lord Qin Tian, the head of the 16th section, who was sent to our Donghai city from above, is my third brother. He wants to kill us. Chapter 41 The Wang family's revenge has arrived. Ding Miaomio suffers massive bleeding. Wang Mingmei comes from Kyoto City, a megacity with a population of over 100 million. It is the largest city in the Xinhua Kingdom, and almost all of the country's top high-ranking masters gather here, making Kyoto City one of the safest places in the world. Even the Demon Queen and the Monster Empress have to be careful in this city. In Kyoto, there was a powerful clan known as the royal family, the family of Wang Mingmei. Having accumulated power over hundreds of years, the Wang family has long since planted its roots in every corner of the Xinhua kingdom. They not only possess top-tier masters, but also hold positions in various departments of the Xinhua kingdom. They have people in both the crisis management department and the security department. Wang Mingmei, as a bargaining chip of the Wang family, was originally intended to be offered to a certain master of the Yang family, who was on par with the Wang family in Kyoto, but was intercepted by Qin Tian. The Wang family cannot directly cause trouble for Qin Tian, but they can use their power to put pressure on him and make him back down. It would be even better if I accidentally died. This time, Donghai City was attacked by a 6th-tier demon queen. The Wang family took this opportunity to send their clan's master to teach Qin Tian a lesson and kill him under the guise of providing support. Mingmei looked pained and heartbroken. She clutched Qin Tian's clothes, her tears soaking his chest, and she kept blaming herself. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Lord Qin Tian. It's all my fault. I'm the one who got everyone into trouble. If I hadn't asked you for help back then, Lord Qin Tian wouldn't have encountered such a thing, and he would have become a great master, giving my Aki and the others a happy future. If it were me." Seeing Mingmei constantly blaming herself, Qin Tian hugged her tightly, pressed her head down, and prevented her from speaking. "That's enough, stop blaming yourself. It's not your fault. I didn't see a Mingmei who would cause me trouble. What I saw was a hard-working, ambitious, and considerate Mingmei." Qin Tian's words of comfort made Mingmei tremble all over. She bit her lip tightly and cried silently. Qin Tian held Mingmei in his arms and sat on the edge of the bed, comforting her. The girl in his arms cannot live without him. If she leaves him, she will die. Seeing such a touching scene, Ding Miaomia wanted to exclaim wow, but Mai tightly covered her mouth, preventing her from saying a word. After a long while, Mingmei slowly calmed down. She lowered her head with an embarrassed look and whispered, "Lord Qin Tian, I'm sorry to have troubled you. I'm still not strong enough." Qin Tian patted Mingmei's head and laughed. "Crying can release emotions, that's good. Since the Wang family wants to cause me trouble, they should do it within the bounds, right? We are all tier 3. At most, he can let us deal with tier 4 monster queens, and we can't be the main force. Otherwise, he would be breaking the rules by intentionally killing a master. If this crime falls on the Wang family, they will not let go of the enemies they have accumulated over hundreds of years. If it's a 4th-tier monster queen, it'll be a piece of cake for us, right, Mai?" Mai's lips curled up slightly as she tilted her head and smiled. "Of course, I've already killed 2 4th-tier queens, why would I be afraid?" Ding Miaomia pulled Mai's hand away and shouted, "I'm not afraid. Queen China's power is mine now. I can kill even a 5th-tier being." Akane and Aki stared at the two of them, dumbfounded. It's only been a few days? How come everyone has become so amazing? Akane and Aki looked at Qin Tian with resentment. Akame hugged Qin Tian, rested her chin on his hand, and said aggrievedly, "Lord Qin Tian, I feel so weak these past few days without training and optimization." Aki also grabbed Qin Tian's hand and pleaded, "We finally got to see each other, could you please optimize our system a bit? We've been so tired from doing tasks these past few days, and they're getting harder and harder." Qin Tian was overjoyed to see the two beautiful girls begging him for optimization. He laughed and said, all right, I'll optimize you in a bit. But before that, I need to get Ding Miaomiao to have her second awakening. Ding Miaomiao's eyes widened, wow. Senior brother really can make his servants have a second awakening. Just in this respect, senior brother surpasses 99.999% of masters in the world. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's unique. Qin Tian pressed Ding Miaomiao's head down impatiently. "Stop talking, just accept my magic and watch me take you to the heavens." With a ripping sound, the zipper on the tent door was opened, and sounds from outside drifted in. "Lord Qin Tian, your mission has arrived. Now, take all your servants and go to the mountaintop 1 kilometer to the northeast to stand guard. Someone will relieve you tomorrow morning." Qin Tian laughed. This section Chief Wan was too impatient. He had just arrived and he was already being given a task. He glanced at Mingmei, who was starting to blame herself again. He kissed Mingmei's forehead and said, "It's okay. It's good that we're away from them. This way, no one will know that we're helping Ding Miaomia with her second awakening." Mingmei nodded gently, "Okay. Before carrying out a mission, everyone must change into the crisis department uniform. They are now essentially members of the crisis department, and when they go out, they represent the crisis department. Their success is thanks to the crisis management department. The 5 people changed clothes inside the tent. Qin Tian couldn't stop smiling. His clothes were simple: a white shirt, a black vest, a brown long trench coat, suit pants, and black marten boots. However, the servants had a more complicated experience. They first changed into black leather bodysuits, which were very elastic and showed off their amazing curves. Next came the exoskeleton protecting vital areas: waist, abdomen, chest, shoulders, knees, elbows, helmets, and they were even required to wear metal high heels fully armed. The crisis department did not withhold weapons and equipment from them because of their past conflict with the Wang family. They distributed them according to their needs. Mai's twin swords are both made of Tier 1 monster materials, making them lighter and sharper than metal. Aki, on the other hand, was carrying a long spear with a jet black shaft and spiral patterns, also made from first-tier monster materials. Mingmei wields a greatsword, a cross-shaped design, with a blue magic crystal on the hilt that emits wind that wraps around the blade, making it easier for the user. It is clearly made from second-tier magical materials. Ding Miao's weapon was simple, a Guandawa type of halberd, made of alloy, without even using any monster materials. "You're bullying me!" Ding Miao roared angrily. The woman in charge of distributing the equipment said calmly, "The battle situation is tense right now, and there are no extra long-handled monster weapons. I even gave a second-tier monster weapon to this servant Wang Mingmei. You should be content." Ding Miao stomped her foot in anger, wanting to argue with the woman. Qin Tian pulled Ding Miao back. "No means no. We have to trust the crisis department." Ding Miao snorted and obeyed Qin Tian's words, ceasing the argument. After preparations were complete, they drove military jeeps to their destination, where they relieved the master who was in charge of guard duty and officially took over the security. "Ding Miao, are you ready? This awakening might be quite painful because it's a second awakening for both of you, Qin." Qin Tian looked at Ding Miao with a serious expression. Ding Miao, who was still sulking about the junk weapons distributed by the crisis department, shouted excitedly when she heard that she and Qin now were going to have a second awakening. "Wow! Lord Qin Tian, is that amazing? He can even awaken the demon queen a second time. There's no other master in the world who can make the queen awaken. Does that mean I can just have 2 more talents?" "I guess so." Qin Tian nodded, then asked seriously, "This might hurt a lot. Do you want to bite something down on?" Ding Miao chuckled. "How much pain could it hurt? Is it more painful than when you bit me, beat me, and tortured me that day? Since that's the case, let's begin." Seeing Ding Miao's confidence, Qin Tian shrugged and began to release his magic. The moment Ding Miao received the magic, her whole body tensed up, as if she had been pierced by something. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her fair skin turned an unnatural red. In the blink of an eye, countless drops of blood seeped out. The bleeding was extremely heavy. Chapter 42: Pain and Pleasure. Demons and monsters have vanished within a mile radius. Attendant, Ding Miao Qina. Age, 18. Talent level, a level heavily tribulation fire, S level candle sun, can grant one of 3 abilities: S level black sun, S level natural flame transformation, S level heaven and earth shattering, or SS level black sky illumination fire, SS level undying fire, SS level ashes of all things. Class, 3-5. Height, 165 centimeters. Weight, 47. Measurements, 83-60-82. Appearance rating, 93. Favorability, 100+. After some deliberation, Qin Tian chose the S-level Black Sun and the SS-level Ashes of all things. Black Sun's ability is to unleash a Black Sun domain that incinerates everything that gets close to it. As for the other 2 S-rank abilities, Flame Transformation is not very useful. It simply turns the user into fire, which can make them immune to some physical damage, but it is completely useless against energy attacks, especially water-based ones. Even a dog wouldn't choose that. Another one that shatters the heavens and earth, that's a fucking self-destruct talent. Like the Queen's Heart of China, it burns itself out, destroying everything, just like the sun. The other 2 SS-level talents are what Qin Tian is focusing on choosing. Dark Sky illuminates fire, which transforms the properties of flames, imbuing them with darkness, and turning burning objects into monsters that can be manipulated at will. The Flame of Immortality is the flame of the phoenix. As long as there is a breath left, it can be reborn from the ashes. As for the ashes of everything, it's even simpler. With this talent, anything can burn, and the speed of burning depends on the user's power. When the dark sky illuminates the earth and creates monsters, even if they are harmless, humans will subconsciously harbor prejudice against them. As for the undying flame, he already has SSS level healing, so the undying flame is redundant. The undying flame can at most grant rebirth from the ashes, making one an invincible cockroach, with SSS level healing abilities, and even the ability to heal the entire world. He had just finished selecting his talent when he saw that Ding Miao Miao was covered in blood. Akemi was so frightened that she immediately used heal on Ding Miao Miao. Mai and Aki's expressions changed drastically, and they looked around to prevent any monsters from appearing and interrupting their second awakening. None of them knew what the consequences would be if their awakening was interrupted. Ding Miao Miao cried out, "Senior brother! It hurts! It hurts so much! I feel like I'm being torn apart. Can you please stop?" Qin Tian looked distressed, but he couldn't stop. He didn't know what would happen if he did. He might be fine, but Ding Miao Miao might die. It hurts. I don't want to awaken. It hurts too much. Ding Miao Miao cried out again, struggling constantly, but the magic had already bound her in mid-air, and no matter how she struggled, it was useless. Puff! Another mouthful of blood spurted out, and Ding Miao Miao fell silent. If he hadn't been able to sense that Ding Miao Miao still had signs of life, he would have thought that Ding Miao Miao had lost consciousness. However, if this continues, awakening will be very slow. It requires the awakener to be fully conscious and to coordinate the movements of all parts of the body in order to awaken normally. After a short silence, a frantic voice rang out. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! That's amazing! Does it hurt that much? That's fantastic! Lord Qin Tian! I love the way you kill me! Akemi and Aki stared wide-eyed at the girl covered in blood, laughing maniacally. Is this still Ding Miao Miao? Mai said calmly, this is Qina. Her soul has merged with Ding Miao Miao's. She will come out when Ding Miao Miao is unconscious. Qina's eyes were bloodshot, and although blood was flowing from all 7 orifices, she had a happy and content expression on her face. I knew I hadn't fallen for the wrong person. I must be the happiest queen in the world. She was rambling incoherently, constantly urging Qin Tian, let me get a little closer to death. Qin Tian rolled his eyes. Wake up! Stop thinking about all this nonsense. Qina looked completely satisfied, feeling her power growing stronger and stronger, and was so happy she felt like she was on cloud 9. Qin Tian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Ding Miao Miao had Qina inside her body to help her bear the pain. Ding Miao Miao, who was so afraid of pain, fainted immediately. The entire mountaintop echoed with China's excited laughter and satisfied voice. Her ever-increasing power roused the sleeping monsters and yokai, causing them to open their eyes. They raised their eyes and looked at the mountaintop. Qin Tian's alluring SSS level scent filled their nostrils, driving them into a frenzy. A roar startled the darkness. Even the camp of the 16th Division could hear it. Wang Qingwen, the head of the 16th section, smiled slightly. I never expected that such an accident would happen on the very first day. My dear sister, how could you be so unlucky? You're going to die now. He ordered everyone in the camp, do not fight, protect the camp. The dreadful, short-haired master, startled awake, thought a mission was coming and then refused to fight, which made him laugh. Aki, this is the master you chose. You have such bad luck that you offended the section chief. How pitiful. Mai drew her twin swords, lightning crackling around their blades. Standing on the high ground, she looked down at the pairs of blood-red pupils that lit up below, as well as some pupils of various colors. Those with red pupils are demons, while those with pupils of different colors are monsters. She sneered, her mystic eyes flashing, a bunch of suicidal bastards, as many as come, I'll kill them all. Aki's eyes were icy cold, and a fierce wind raged around her. She raised her spear high, pointing it at the monsters and yokai below. Crush me under Indra's wrath. Kill. The two sisters leaped into the air and fell into the midst of monsters and yokai. Wielding twin swords, Mai was like a god of death. The blades slid across their death lines, instantly dismembering them. Hot blood fell on her face, and was gently wiped away by the wind, leaving a blotch of crimson. Her slender figure spun and leaped, her taut thighs taut as she ran in high heels, revealing every curve of her body, her breastplate swaying with each violent movement. Her long, dark hair spun and spread out, like a night flower, beautiful and alluring. Compared to Mai's alluring beauty, her younger sister Aki is incomparably pure and beautiful. She moves lightly, but every time she swings her spear, she creates a gust of wind. With a casual wave, she can tear apart the bodies of monsters and yokai. The bright red and purplish red blood, like paint that a painter doesn't care about spending, is splashed at any time, leaving marks on the uneven mountainside. Aki floats in mid-air, like a conductor of the sky. The spear in her hand is her baton, and the strength or weakness of the wind is her strongest weapon. The battle ended when the hilltop reeked of blood and there was no living creature left but humans. Ding Miao's awakening was also completed. 3 heavenly attendants are born. Qin Tian also obtained a talent of SSS level or higher, and a US level talent. His appeal has reached a whole new level. The monsters and freaks within dozens of miles grinned, greedily inhaling the US level scent in the air, wanting to devour it. But beside that US level being, there was an even more terrifying aura. Queen China, with her 5th tier SS level talent, reigns supreme over all living beings. She is the dark sun of this world in her eyes. It is as if the world is burning and everything is reduced to ashes. Chapter 43, Howitzer Maintenance Manual. The attendants, their faces glowing with pride. A rest area for soldiers on the front lines. Qin Tian held the sleeping Akemi and Aki in his arms on either side. They leaned peacefully on his shoulders with satisfied smiles on their faces. Their originally pale complexions were now rosy, like ripe peaches. After the optimization, their physical condition was adjusted to its optimal state. At the same time, with Qin Tian by their side, they seemed to have found their backbone and support, and were no longer hesitant and confused. He looked at Mai across from him, who had dark circles under her eyes and looked exhausted. "Can't you guys keep it down? This is the only room I can rest in. My ears are about to go deaf. I've killed so many monsters and yokai, can't I at least get some rest?" Mai looked at Qin Tian with resentment and grievance in her eyes. Qin Tian knew what she was complaining about, so he gently put Akemi and Aki down and walked up to Mai. When Mai saw Qin Tian approaching, her heart pounded, and her eyes darted around, but she still secretly glanced at Qin Tian and couldn't help but swallow. Qin Tian lifted Mai's chin and kissed her, causing her face to turn red instantly. "You're expecting me to care about you, aren't you? I neglected you last night, and now we're having a fight?" Mai turned her head away and snorted softly, "I'm not that petty." As she spoke, she whispered, "But don't make me watch, it makes me so lonely. I want to be optimized, too." Qin Tian smiled slightly, put his arm around Mai's waist, and said softly, "If you want to be optimized, just say so. It's not like we won't give you an optimization. Take advantage of the time you still have during the shift change, and keep your voice down so as not to disturb them." Mai nodded gently, feeling Qin Tian adjusting every inch of her body. Optimization. Ding Miao has awakened and is guarding the camp outside, using Qina's aura to deter any monsters or yokai that try to approach. The work is very easy. Bored, Ding Miao became very interested in the twin howitzers in the camp and started to adjust them. Debugging a cannon is a very meticulous task. She noticed that the 2 cannon barrels seemed a bit dirty, so she took a soft cloth and gently wiped them clean. Because she was so bored, she wiped them very carefully. The exterior of the 2 cannon barrels was polished to a gleaming shine, with reflective water stains on them. After wiping the outside of the cannon barrel, she stood in front of it and glanced inside. The rifling inside seemed to be severely worn from firing multiple shells and was covered in dust. Since she was bored anyway, she grabbed the edge of the muzzle and wiped the inside with a rag, cleaning the parts that her arm could reach until the rifling was clearly visible. As for the ash layer inside, she had the whimsical idea of blowing it away with her mouth, but found it was completely futile. So she looked around and soon found a thick, long wooden pole with cotton cloth wrapped around the front part, obviously for cleaning the inside of the cannon barrel. She also found here machine oil for cleaning and maintaining the inside of the gun barrel, as well as the howitzer maintenance manual. Following the instructions, she soaked the cotton at the front of the wooden rod in machine oil until it was fully moistened. Then she ran to the front of the muzzle and pushed the cotton into the muzzle. Because the cotton was fully moistened and expanded, it couldn't be pushed in on the first try. She used a little force to squeeze the cotton in. The cotton rubbed against the rifling of the barrel and made a squeaking sound. The squeezed-out engine oil moistened the cannon barrel, allowing Ding Miao to insert the wooden rod more easily. She gripped the rod tightly with both hands and pushed it in forcefully. With a clang, it actually reached the bottom of the cannon barrel, hitting the firing pin of the howitzer and vibrating the parts of the loading section. The entire howitzer trembled slightly, and its parts made crisp sounds. Ding Miao chuckled as the cleaning rod continuously scrubbed the internal rifling inside the gun barrel. She was cleaning all the dirt off the rifling, and the entire gun barrel made a creaking sound, with all the parts of the howitzer clanging and jingling. After she felt the cleaning was almost done, she suddenly pulled out the cleaning rod and poured a large amount of engine oil into the barrel to flush it. With a whoosh, the flushing oil gushed out from the howitzer's loading section, soaking the ground. With a face full of excitement, she cleaned the cleaning rod and gave the lubricated cannon barrel a final cleaning. She turned the cleaning rod and kept scrubbing the barrel, rubbing the rifling. The rifling made a dense squeaking sound because of Ding Meow Meow's strength. After cleaning, Ding Meow Meow looked at the shiny new cannon barrel, put her hands on her hips, and was very satisfied. After cleaning this cannon barrel, the other cannon barrel was cleaned in the same way. After cleaning the howitzer so thoroughly, Ding Meow Meow felt she should do something, like fire a shot. Without hesitation, Ding Meow Meow excitedly brought over a box of shells and loaded them into the cannon barrel. Boom! The shell is fired. A tremendous explosion could be heard in the distance, booming and rumbling. Ding Meow Meow was very excited, but why were there other sounds in the rumbling? Never mind. One more shot. Boom! 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 As Ding Meow Meow fired the cannon, she shouted excitedly, "Die, all of you! Monsters and freaks, die! I'll blow you all up! I'll blow you all up!" She quickly squandered the entire box of shells. She checked the time, it was almost time to change shifts. She skipped back to the rest area, and as soon as she entered, she saw Mai lying on the bed, covered in sweat, her eyes rolled back, looking very tired. But why is Mai Nichan's face so red? Aki and Akemi, the two of them, were tidying up the room as if they didn't see anything. The senior brother ate his breakfast with a smile on his face, and said something after seeing Ding Meow Meow. "Meow Meow, did you have fun playing with the grenade launcher?" Meow Meow exclaimed excitedly, "Wow! Senior brother! You know what? It's so satisfying to clean the grenade launcher yourself and then fire a few shots. It's so much fun. Come play with me next time, senior brother." Qin Tian nodded, "I'll hang out with you next time I have time. Come on, let's eat, we're getting ready to go back." Oh. The master who was taking over the shift looked at the corpses all over the mountain and couldn't help but swallow hard. Was the master who offended Section Chief Wang really that powerful? When they saw Qin Tian and his four ruddy-faced, plump servants, their lips twitched slightly. If it weren't for the bloodstains all over them, especially the red-haired girl who was covered in blood, they would have thought that these people were on vacation. Not long ago, they seemed to have fired a few shots. Could it be that they were attacked by monsters again? Last night, they sensed a powerful aura of a demon queen nearby and thought Qin Tian had been killed by her. They're still alive? Are these people really that hard to kill? It seems that if Section Chief Wang wants to kill this master, he'll have to make it a bit more difficult. Back at the camp of the 16th Division, every master and attendant there looked at Qin Tian and the others with a different expression. The short-haired master, seeing Qin Tian unharmed, gritted his teeth. He then looked at Aki, whose face was beaming with joy, and was so angry that he felt like he was going to grind his back teeth to powder. "How come they're still alive? You're lucky to be alive." Qin Tian, who originally intended to return to his tent to rest, encountered a servant dressed in a black trench coat, who spoke indifferently. "Section Chief Wang is looking for you." Chapter 44. This bastard must die. "Good morning, Mr. Qin Tian." The section chief's tent was luxuriously decorated. A marble coffee table, a leather sofa, a wool rug, and a solid wood dining table. An elegant man in a suit is slowly cutting freshly seared lamb chops at a restaurant, while a waiter beside him holds a glass of red wine, which he serves with both hands when needed. This man is Wang Mingmei's third brother, Wang Qingwen. A rank A, Tier 5 master. Reaching the 5th rank at such a young age must have involved the help of family resources. Generally speaking, a master with a rank talent would need to be at least around 40 years old to reach the 5th rank. The man in front of me didn't look any older than 30. Mingmei, who was behind Qin Tian, hid behind him with a frightened expression, cautiously peeking out and looking at Wang Qingwen. Wang Qingwen didn't greet his sister, but instead asked Qin Tian. "You were in danger last night, and I didn't send any backup. You won't blame me, will you?" Qin Tian smiled slightly. Section Chief Wang must have his own considerations, and at the same time, it's also an affirmation of my abilities, isn't it? Wang Qingwen was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Mr. Qin Tian, you are really funny. Your performance was outstanding. You held the post well and deserve a reward." He glanced at the attendant inside the tent and said casually, "Lin, give Mr. Qin Tian a second-tier magic crystal." The servant nodded slightly, went to the back, and soon returned with a box. She opened the box, and inside was a pale blue crystal that shone like a gemstone. Wang Qingwen smiled and said, I heard that your talent is only F level, but you were able to advance to the 3rd level in such a short time. You must have spent a lot of money to buy magic crystals to accelerate your cultivation a second time. This is a 2nd-tier magic crystal, extracted from the body of a 2nd-tier black dog queen. A 2nd-tier magic crystal like this is worth tens of millions. As you know, demon queens and monster empresses can only guarantee the production of a queen's heart when they reach the 4th tier. However, before a queen dies, she will destroy her own queen's heart, making it extremely difficult to obtain. The probability of a queen below the 4th rank having a queen's heart within her body is 1 in 100. Although they cannot use the power of the queen's heart, their strength far surpasses that of queens of the same rank, making them extremely difficult to kill. He smiled slightly. I think highly of you, that's why I'm rewarding you with this. Make good use of it. Qin Tian frowned slightly as he looked at the magic crystals the other party had sent, somewhat disbelieving that this man surnamed Wang would really have faith in him. There's definitely something fishy about this magic crystal. With his talent, he doesn't need magic crystals to accelerate his cultivation at all. With 5 SSS level or higher talents, his cultivation speed is beyond imagination. However, on the surface, he still accepted the magic crystal. Thank you, Section Chief Wang. When Section Chief Wang saw Qin Tian accept, the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. Not bad, go back and get some rest. 3 days later, our entire section will be going on a mission to hunt down a 5th-tier queen. Yes. At this point, Wang Qingwen finally looked at Wang Mingmei and said calmly, Mingmei, your parents are very disappointed in you. They say they raised you for nothing all these years, and you don't know how to contribute to the family. You've been shirking your responsibilities all along. Mingmei trembled all over, clung tightly to Qin Tian's arm, and whispered, I am already Lord Qin Tian's servant, and I can no longer work for the family, as this will affect Lord Qin Tian. Wang Qingwen chuckled, that's really good, you're really lucky. You were already crippled back then, yet Mr. Qin Tian still took a liking to you. Were you already hanging out with him before? A shameless woman is a disgrace to the family. Mingmei trembled all over and dared not reply, afraid of causing Qin Tian more trouble. But Qin Tian wouldn't stand by and watch his woman be scolded. He sneered, Section Chief Wang, you guys are pretty impressive. You even have to use a girl. Has your Wang family really fallen this low? Wang Qingwen frowned slightly. This guy had already accepted his gift, yet he was still talking to him like that? This is our family matter, Mr. Qin Tian, please don't interfere. Qin Tian stared directly at Wang Qingwen and said coldly, Mingmei's affairs are my affairs. The way you treat my servants, aren't you interfering in my family matters? Wang Qingwen laughed angrily, very well, Mr. Qin Tian. I originally wanted to talk to you slowly, but since that's the case, I'll just be frank. Hand over Mingmei to us, and I can give you plenty of magic crystals to guarantee you'll reach the 5th rank. How about it? That's a 5th tier, F rank talent master. You could never reach that level on your own in your entire life. Once you become a 5th tier master, all sorts of beautiful servants will flock to you. They will offer you their beauty, for you to take and play with as you please. This is the beginning of enjoying power as a master. You could become the lord of a small city, and all the girls in the city could be yours. Whoever you fancy would have to be with you. Doesn't that sound tempting? Qin Tian frowned slightly, looking at Wang Qingwen with suspicion. With so many resources, you could hire many beautiful servants to complete your mission. Why are you targeting Mingmei? Wang Qingwen was stunned, because he had no intention of keeping his promise, which was why he said that. Such private agreements are not recognized by law, which is why he dared to speak so casually. Wang Qingwen came up with a reason and said, because she is my sister, I love her, and everything I do is for her happiness. Qin Tian sneered inwardly. Like? After talking with Song Tianyang, he realized that the masters of this world did not understand love at all, and only knew how to use their servants to bring them convenience and comfort. They love no one but themselves. Qin Tian patted Mingmei's head, don't worry about it. Mingmei is very happy with me, right, Mingmei? Mingmei looked at Wang Qingwen, gritted her teeth, and nodded gently, yes. I am very happy with Lord Qin Tian. I am doing well now and do not want to go back. Wang Qingwen's lips twitched, looking like he was on the verge of exploding. He clenched his fists, stared intently at Qin Tian, and finally burst into laughter. In that case, I'm relieved. Mingmei, take good care of Mr. Qin Tian and make sure he doesn't die. I want to rest now. Everyone, please go back. Don't forget the mission in 3 days. In front of Wang Qingwen, Qin Tian pinched Mingmei's chin and kissed her deeply until she was almost suffocating before letting go. Thank you for your blessings, Section Chief Wang. I will definitely take good care of Mingmei. Wang Qingwen was trembling with anger. This bastard had taken liberties with his sister right in front of him. Damn it! Damn it! Everything that happened here was captured on camera, and young Master Yang, far away in Kyoto, will surely see it. I thought this would be an absolute victory, but unexpectedly, I was humiliated by Qin Tian, this nobody. He's going to kill this guy. They must kill him. That bastard must be killed. Qin Tian had the same thought in his mind as he left the section chief's tent. That bastard must be killed. How dare you steal my lovely Akemi and give her to another master? Are you trying to cheat on me? Go to hell. Chapter 45 The Bullied, Empty Girl. 3 days later. On the black grass plain in the western suburbs of Donghai City, the main force of 30,000 dead soldiers gathered. The 16th, 12th, and 7th sections of the Crisis Department, as well as the 6th, 9th, and 10th sections of the Security Department, are also gathered here. Qin Tian, accompanied by his attendants, stood on a hill, gazing at the distant ranks of the dead army. 30,000 servants without masters stood motionless in the wind. It was already October, the beginning of autumn, and the weather was slightly cool. These girls were not wearing the combat suits worn by Mingmei and the others, which had the effect of keeping them warm in winter and cool in summer. Instead, they wore simple cloth clothes, with only their vital parts protected by alloy. The weapons in their hands were either ordinary cold weapons or large-caliber guns and cannons. To fight an army of monsters covered in weapons with such weapons is tantamount to suicide. The girls' faces were expressionless, their eyes empty, devoid of any light. They simply carried out orders coldly, and then died. If Qin Tian hadn't saved Mingmei, she would have become one of those girls after being used and abused by the scum of the Yang family. A 3-year service period is not something everyone can endure. Unless nothing dangerous happens in the next 3 years. Even if they survive, if they encounter a large-scale invasion by a monster queen like this time, they will be forcibly conscripted, and death will likely be their fate. Suddenly, Miao Miao spoke up out of the blue. If Queen Qingyi finds out we're gathered here, all of us will die. Qin Tian and the others stared wide-eyed at Miao Miao. Qin Tian exclaimed, "Oh my god! Miao Miao! Don't jinx it! If Queen Qingyi finds out we're gathered here, one shot from her antelope spear and all 30,000 girls will be dead." Aki was covered in sweat, but forced a smile and said, "Miao Miao, don't say such unlucky things. These girls have it tough enough as it is. If they die before they even get to the battlefield, they won't even have a chance to contribute their last bit of value. It's so pitiful." Mingmei took Miao Miao's hand and gently shook her head. "My side, but with so many masters gathered here, aren't you afraid the Demon Queen will smell them? Their noses are more sensitive than the most sophisticated instruments." Qin Tian pointed to the tower not far away. "See that? As long as that's there, the aura here won't dissipate. However, the energy required to maintain that tower is terrifying, so this meeting won't last too long." They looked down at the largest tent, where high-ranking officers of the Death Army, as well as section chiefs from the Crisis Department and the Security Department, were having a meeting. The reason for not holding the meeting online is mainly to prevent the presence of monsters among the monsters that can eavesdrop on signals. If the plan is exposed, it would be very bad. 2 years ago, there was a foolish major general who, because he found it troublesome, decided to hold a meeting online. As a result, 100,000 dead soldiers, the Crisis Department, the Security Department, the 3 masters and their attendants were all wiped out. That idiot major general was taken directly to a military court and beheaded live 3 weeks later. Even the family behind that foolish major general was implicated and is now in dire straits. Those in power may not care if you abuse your authority or set traps for people you dislike, but if you waste national resources and neglect city security, you must be put on the death row. That's right. In the eyes of the higher-ups, these girls serving in the military are just resources, and they don't even have the slightest human rights. Even the girls themselves look down on the girls serving in the military, calling them dirty and worthless. Those contracted servants could bully these female soldiers with impunity, and no one would say a word. Bullying is happening right now. Qin Tian saw a group of girls dressed in Crisis Department uniforms walk arrogantly in front of the lined-up military boys, grab one of the silver-haired girls by the hair, pull her out, throw her to the ground, and then punch and kick her. The girl just curled up and silently endured it. Qin Tian frowned slightly upon seeing this. Aki came to his side and said softly, "The reason that girl was bullied is because last night, she was summoned by the master of these servants. These servants disliked her and took revenge on her." Qin Tian looked at Aki and asked, "How did you know?" Aki stuck out her tongue and chuckled, "The wind told me that. When I'm bored, I listen to the stories the wind brings." Qin Tian nodded slightly and praised, "Impressive. Anyway, he doesn't have this ability, or rather, he has treated Aki and knows how to hear the wind, but it's too troublesome, so he's too lazy to use it. Deciphering information in the wind is just as complicated as deciphering zeros and ones in electronic information. He didn't want to waste his limited energy on this. He looked at the girl being bullied and couldn't bear it. With the thought that since he had seen it, he should help her a little, he led the group to the female soldiers. "That's enough," Qin Tian said coldly. "She hasn't even fought back, how long are you going to keep fighting?" Upon seeing that the newcomer was their master, the servants dared not act recklessly any longer. However, the most ruthless of them all, the beautiful blonde servant, still spoke with righteous indignation. "This wretched woman clearly seduced our master, yet she refuses to admit it, claiming she did nothing last night. Who would believe that? My master was supposed to be with me last night, but because of this wretched woman, I lost his favor." The more he spoke, the angrier the blonde servant became. The silver-haired girl stood up expressionlessly and said without any emotion, "I really didn't do anything. After he saw me, he thought I was boring, so he didn't touch me." The blonde servant laughed in exasperation, "Ha ha ha ha. Are you even speaking human language? You're so beautiful, how could you say something like that? Master isn't interested in you?" She looked at Qin Tian and asked, "Master, you be the judge. When you see such a beautiful girl, don't you want to sleep with her?" Qin Tian looked at the silver hair, silver eyes, and skin so white it was almost cold, like a snow fairy. If it weren't for her deadpan expression, she would definitely be very cute. But it was precisely because of her deadpan expression that she possessed an unapproachable beauty, making his heart flutter. This petite girl hasn't said anything since her brief explanation. He glanced at the girl's panel. Alternative attendant, 0 mirror snow. Age, 23. Talent level, a rank void. Class, 3. Height, 153 centimeters. Weight, 39 kilograms. Measurements, 78, 63, 74. Appearance, 94. Favorability, 30. Note, those with an appearance score exceeding 90 can be granted abilities: S-rank Infinite Replication, S-rank Winter Witch, and S-rank Mirror Flower Water Moon. Ling Jingxue glanced at Qin Tian, her icy gaze extinguishing any sparks in his heart. No wonder that master was attracted to her but didn't sleep with her. Such a cold girl, no matter how beautiful, doesn't have that kind of passion. This girl is so cold. It's as if her beautiful face is just an empty shell, filled with ice that will freeze to death. Just as Qin Tian was feeling a chill run down his spine, a cold voice rang out. "What are you doing?" Chapter 46, 30,000 Maidens, One Spoonful for All. The final battle begins. "Greetings, Major General Hu." The servants who had just been bullied instantly turned serious, straightened their posture, and saluted the newcomer. Qin Tian looked over and saw a man with a beard, a cold expression, and a sharply defined face walking towards him with a group of attendants. Qin Tian was looking at him, and the other person was also looking at Qin Tian. The army's major general, also known as a 6th-tier master, is the main force of this unit in dealing with Queen Qingling. Major General Hu glanced at Qin Tian, then looked at the disheveled Ling Jingxue, and roughly knew what had happened. The battle is about to begin. Return to your respective units. Major General Hu coldly addressed the bullying servants, who turned pale and ran away with their heads down. Then, Major General Hu walked up to Qin Tian and said calmly, "You must be the master Qin Tian that Section Chief Wang praised. I heard that you treat your servants exceptionally well, and that you stepped forward to help a servant who was being treated unfairly." Qin Tian sized up the Major General in front of him and smiled slightly. "Yes, if I hadn't seen it, it would have been fine. But since I did see it, I want to do something about it. Is that not allowed?" Major General Hu laughed and said, "There's nothing wrong with it. You're the master, you have that right. It's not against the rules or laws. What, you've taken a fancy to this little girl?" Qin Tian was taken aback. This Major General Hu really dared to speak his mind. He smiled and patted Qin Tian's shoulder. "If you like it, just say so." Although they served in the Death Army, they did not form a contract with a master. According to the rules, they have always retained the right to choose their master and contract. He led Qin Tian to the front of the 30,000 girls, pointed at them, and shouted, "Come on! Choose. Whichever girl you fancy, take her back and have some fun with her, or make a contract with her, it's up to you." Qin Tian was caught off guard. He knew that the master of this world had great power, but he didn't expect it to be this great. 30,000 girls, pick any you like? Even if you pick 10 a day, it would still take 3 years to pick them all. Hiss. No wonder so many masters want to join the Death Army as officers, it's an incredible perk. Qin Tian looked at the girls, and the girls looked back at Qin Tian with longing and expectation in their eyes. If Qin Tian could choose them, they would not have to participate in this combat mission with an extremely high mortality rate. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll catch the eye of this master and be able to form a contract with him, so I'll never come back. However, they glanced at the 4 attendants behind Qin Tian, each of them so beautiful and with such great figures. Looking at themselves, they felt like ugly ducklings and probably wouldn't even look at them. Those girls who felt beautiful puffed out their chests, like peacocks spreading their tails, displaying their beauty, hoping that their master would take a second look at them and pull them away from this abyss. Qin Tian looked around and saw that their appearance scores were mostly around 60 or 70, with some even scoring 30 or 50. There were only 3 scores above 90. Among the 3 girls, one was Ling Jingxue. When she heard that Major General who had given Qin Tian the right to choose, she remained expressionless, as if the matter had nothing to do with her. As for the other 2, they kept flirting with Qin Tian and the group, clearly skilled in this art. Moreover, their complexions and clothes were obviously better than the other girls, as if they were receiving special treatment. I reckon quite a few were taken away by the officers, and those officers had a lot of fun with them. If I really had to choose, I want that silver-haired girl who was just bullied, Qin Tian said calmly. Major General who was stunned. He put his arm around Qin Tian's shoulder and suggested, "I've looked for this girl before. She's cold-tempered, has no feelings whatsoever, and doesn't like to talk. Even when we're playing around, she's not interesting at all. Last night, I tried to interact with her, but when I saw her icy eyes, I lost interest instantly." As he spoke, he pointed to the 2 girls who scored above 90 and chuckled, "I recommend choosing these 2. They're really good at it, you know. They'll make you feel comfortable. These are girls recommended by 10 officers of colonel rank or above in our army." Looking at Major General whose lewd expression, Qin Tian knew that his guess was right. These 2 girls, who scored 90 points, had already been played with by these high-ranking officers. It was estimated that the missions they carried out were the simplest and had the highest survival rate. On the other hand, Ling Jingxue will definitely assign me a mission that will surely result in death. It's uncertain whether I'll even survive today. I'll choose this silver-haired girl. He feigned a smirk and said, "I love white-haired Lolas. She's just my type. Even if I take her home as a decorative object, it'll be fine." Major General who was surprised that his master had such a quirk and couldn't help but laugh, "Good, good, good. As long as you like it. Mr. Qin Tian, remember to put in a good word for me with Section Chief Wang." Qin Tian frowned slightly. Didn't this Major General know that he and Wang Qingwen had such a bad relationship? Just because Wang Qingwen praised him at the meeting, did he think that Wang Qingwen was taking good care of him? He smiled and called out Ling Jingxue, ordering her to follow Qin Tian and obey any of Qin Tian's orders. Qin Tian was constantly praised by young master Wang Qingwen and entrusted with important tasks. There was even Wang Qingwen's sister among Qin Tian's attendants. No matter how you look at it, the relationship was very close. By showing goodwill to Qin Tian this time, he will definitely be able to get in touch with the Wang family, and perhaps he will be promoted to lieutenant general before long. Qin Tian looked at Ling Jingxue standing behind him. She wasn't happy about being chosen. She still had that dead expression, cold and indifferent, as if she couldn't laugh, cry, or speak. Major General who frowned slightly when he saw that Ling Jingxue hadn't even said thank you. This would definitely make Qin Tian unhappy. Snap. He slapped Ling Jingxue across the face and yelled, "Don't you understand anything? You should be grateful to Mr. Qin Tian for being chosen. If Qin Tian hadn't chosen you, you would be dead today, becoming food for demons. Thank Mr. Qin Tian. Do you hear me?" Ling Jingxue remained expressionless, standing there like an ice sculpture. Major General who got carried away and wanted to fight again, but Qin Tian stopped him. "All right, Major General who, just leave her to me. You don't need to worry about the rest." Seeing that Qin Tian had said that, Major General who lowered his hand, snorted coldly at Ling Jingxue, and then smiled at Qin Tian and said, "Then, let's go to the main conference room together." We'll be distributing tasks soon. As for the attendants, we can leave them here. Qin Tian glanced at Mingmei and the others, touched Mingmei's face, and said softly, "Wait for me to come back." Mingmei nodded gently and said, "I understand." Seeing that Qin Tian and Wang Mingmei had such a good relationship, Major General Hu knew it must be because Qin Tian had obtained the Wang family's resources through Wang Mingmei. Otherwise, why would a master treat a servant so well for no reason? The news that Qin Tianhui would give love to his attendants had obviously not reached the army, it had only spread within the Master Attendant Association in Donghai City. Song Tianyang learned about it from that inspector. Upon entering the main conference room, hundreds of masters were gathered, casually seated in chairs, waiting for Major General Hu to take the stage and assign tasks. Major General Hu's first words upon taking the stage were, "Today, we will fight the Queen of the Azure Antelopes. We will surely slay the Queen and bring peace to Nanling City and Donghai City." Chapter 47: The Temptation of Becoming the King of the World. The author then applies oil to Ling Jingshue's entire body. Upon hearing Major General Hu's declaration, the masters below the stage applauded smackingly, but their interest was waning. Qin Tian sneered inwardly. He spoke with great passion, as if he were about to die a heroic death, but in reality, it was all the girls who were risking their lives. These masters are very unlikely to go into battle. The tasks assigned to them are usually handled by their servants. They will only go to the battlefield if their servants fail, but they will not fight too hard. If the mission fails, you might be put in solitary confinement for a period of time. In this world where masters are scarce, the death of any master is a huge loss. Unless they have made an extremely serious mistake, they are generally not in danger of losing their lives. After delivering the declaration, Major General Hu began distributing tasks, with each unit having its own mission and kill targets. Qin Tian was with the 16th Division, whose mission was to attack the core forces of the Azure Antelope Queen, located at Bloodsaw Ridge in the northern part of the Black Grass Plain, as the main force. There is only one road into Bloodsaw Ridge, which is sandwiched between two 300-meter-high mountains, making it easy to defend and difficult to attack. The mountain is home to the core force of the Azure Antelope Queen, the Antelope Knights. These Antelope Knights are all 4th or 5th tier queens. Their spears are comparable to missiles, making it extremely difficult to penetrate into Bloodsaw Ridge. Someone has to be sacrificed to withstand the spears of these Antelope Knights. This task involves the 30,000 girls outside. They are the ones who consume the materials of these Antelope Knights. Apart from the 16th Division, where Qin Tian is located, the tasks of the other divisions are basically to occupy the mountain and eliminate the Antelope Knights on the mountain. The 16th Division's task is to find an opportunity to break into Bloodsaw Ridge, find the location of the Green Antelope Queen, and then Major General Hu will lead his retinue of soldiers to descend from the sky and annihilate her. The mission of the 16th Division is dangerous, especially the Antelope Knight blocking that pass. He is powerful, with the strength of the 5th rank, but once the mission is completed, the merit will be enormous. After hearing the mission, Qin Tian realized why Major General Hu thought he had a good relationship with Wang Qingwen. He was part of the vanguard that would storm Bloodsaw Ridge and cooperate with Wang Qingwen to kill the Antelope Knight. In his eyes, Wang Qingwen would definitely kill that Antelope Knight, and he would follow Wang Qingwen and enjoy the credit. But in Qin Tian's eyes, Wang Qingwen would never do such a thing. He probably wanted to deliberately kill him in battle. If he died on the battlefield, he could easily take Wang Mingmei with him without any responsibility. After leaving the main conference room, Qin Tian returned to their resting tent and told Mingmei and the others about the mission and his speculations. Mingmei clenched her fists angrily. How could third brother do this? I'm going to find him. Qin Tian pulled Mingmei into his arms and whispered, "What's the use of you going? This is an open scheme of his. People will think he's deliberately picking a fight." But Mingmei was so anxious that tears were almost coming out of her eyes. Mai said calmly, "Akemi, things aren't as complicated as you think. Have you forgotten Lord Qin Tian's strength? He could even defeat Queen China." As she spoke, she immediately shut up, because there was another outsider present, namely Ling Jingxue. Ling Jingxue seemed to know that she was superfluous there, so she silently left and went outside to guard the door. Mai glanced at the door and said in confusion, "This girl is really strange. If she says she is willing to pledge allegiance to Lord Qin Tian and form a contract with him, it's not that we can't let her know." Qin Tian shrugged. "It's her business if she doesn't want to form a contract with any master. I was just helping her out." Qin Tian glanced at his panel. He had both titles, and he did help Ling Jingxue. However, even though his favorability rating was 60, she still didn't say a word. Is she even more stubborn than Mai? Or perhaps she's not good with words? Hee Ding Miao Miao chuckled, don't worry, even if that guy surnamed Wang really tries to frame my dear Qin Tian, he can't do it. As long as I'm here, they won't lay a hand on Qin Tian. The only one who can kill Qin Tian is me, who loves Qin Tian. Qin Tian rolled his eyes at Qina. If you're exposed, how am I supposed to explain this to the outside world? Do you want me to become the enemy of all mankind? China shrugged nonchalantly, what's the big deal? If you'd like, why don't you join our Queen's Ball? I'm sure with your abilities, you'll win the hearts of many queens, and they'll all become your women. The more China spoke, the more excited she became, as if she could see Qin Tian being held high on a pedestal by a host of queens. No. Qin Tian refused outright, I'm afraid you'll take advantage of me. China smiled slightly, no, we eat masters. As long as the master doesn't cooperate with us and help us cultivate you, if you're willing to cooperate with us, I can help you become the only king. All queens would kneel to receive your favor, wouldn't you be tempted? Whether it's a gentle bunny, a wild wolf, a delicate cat, or a voluptuous fox, they're all yours. Once you become our king, this world will be yours to keep. You can choose any human girl or queen you want. As for those monster empresses and scum, beat them into submission and they'll all be yours. China tempted Qin Tian, and Qin Tian swallowed hard. Honestly, what China said was really tempting. Becoming the world's king is probably every man's dream. However, to let him betray humanity like this. Humans cannot, or at least should not. It's just a feud with the Wang family, there's no need to involve all of humanity. I refuse. Qin Tian said sternly. China sighed and said helplessly, alright, I'll wait for your reply anytime. Ding Miao Miao, take good care of my darling. You can use my power as you please. If you don't know how to use it, I'll come out on my own. I won't let you come out whenever you want. Ding Miao Miao shouted angrily. This sudden change seemed like she had a split personality. Ding Miao Miao complained, looking annoyed, that China said she had something important to say, and this is what she got. I've been tricked. Qin Tian patted Miao Miao's head, it's okay, she's just thinking of me. Let's get ready, we're about to leave. Qin Tian took the combat suit he had received, found Ling Jingxue, and said calmly, put this on. Wearing it will improve your survivability. Ling Jingxue calmly took the combat suit from Qin Tian's hand, and took off her clothes in front of Qin Tian, leaving only her pure white underwear. Qin Tian was stunned, you're just going to change it like that? Ling Jingxue rarely spoke up, but she said, no problem. She frowned slightly, put on the leather combat suit, but because it wasn't oiled, the friction was too great. She glanced at Qin Tian, said nothing, and continued to put it on. Her fair, delicate feet were rubbed red, but she still couldn't get it in. Qin Tian sighed helplessly, picked up the lubricant that was placed aside, poured it into his hand, and gently spread it evenly on Ling Jingxue's cold, pale skin. He lifted Ling Jingxue's small foot, which she could easily hold in one hand, and gently massaged the oil into every corner of her skin. Qin Tian stared blankly at the jade foot in his hand. This pair of small feet was like a work of art, like the most satisfying masterpiece of a jade carver. After stroking her jade-like feet, he held her calves tightly in his hands. The slender curves of her calves twisted slightly in Qin Tian's palms, as soft as cotton. Next came the thighs, and then Qin Tian applied lubricant all over Ling Jingxue's body. Her pale, cold skin was covered with a faint golden halo, which was very beautiful. Combined with her aloof eyes and expression, she looked like a fairy who did not eat the food of this world, or an angel. After applying the oil, putting on the combat suit felt much easier. She zipped up the last zipper of the combat suit, glanced at Qin Tian, and said softly, thanks. After saying that, she walked outside, her steps unsteady, as if she had been stimulated by something. Qin Tian glanced at the panel again and found that Ling Jingxue's favorability had actually risen to 90. This little girl is really not good with words. Chapter 48 Rainy Night Battle. The War God in the Grove. Even in the coldest weather, the effect of the title cannot withstand the power of zero mirror snow. In just one day, the favorability rating was raised to 90. According to the title's effect, she has reached the point where she is willing to die for him and even give up everything, so why does she still have 10 points of favorability? Where is the difference in these 10 points? However, there was one thing he was certain of, Ling Jingxue was still a young girl, a fact he had confirmed when he applied the oil to her just now. I never imagined that such a beautiful girl could remain so innocent in that chaotic place called the Death Army. It seems that those high-ranking officials don't care about appearances. Their happiness is the most important thing. No matter how beautiful Ling Jingxue is, it's useless if she can't ignite passion. Riding in the 16th Division's jeep, Jin Tian looked at the other three masters inside, who all stared at him with expressions as if they were looking at a dead man. Sitting in the passenger seat, Wang Qingwen said calmly, "For this mission, we need to gather intelligence on the monsters first. The intelligence will be obtained by the cannon fodder of the Death Army. We won't rush in immediately. We will rush in the moment the pass is exposed and kill the 5th-tier queen guarding the gate in one fell swoop. Mr. Qin Tian, your servants are very capable. The task of making the 5th-tier queen expose her weakness is entrusted to you and your servants. I will deliver the fatal blow at the appropriate time." Qin Tian sneered inwardly, but nodded outwardly, "Yes. What kind of fatal blow are you to deliver? Isn't this just sending your servant to challenge a 5th-tier queen? You'll only make your move after I'm dead, won't you? This is a battlefield, and the environment is extremely chaotic. The control skill cannot be used, so it is obviously impossible to strengthen or heal servants in real time. Looks like today is going to be very tiring." It was night when we arrived at the front lines, and fighting had already broken out. He could see squads of women carrying large-caliber machine guns charging to the front lines, bullets raining down on the mountaintop ahead. Suddenly, a dazzling green light appeared on the mountaintop, streaking across the night sky like a shooting star as it fell towards the army of death. Boom! A beam of green flame shot into the sky, rising into the darkness. The violent impact stirred up waves of wind, making the black grass at their feet unable to lift its head. Some female soldiers from the dead army were even blown away by the wind, fell to the ground, and suffered injuries. Qin Tian stared in astonishment at the green mushroom cloud, recalling the night he left Donghai City, when a similar meteor streaked across the sky. If Mai hadn't killed him with her mystic eyes of death perception, everyone present would have been in trouble. No wonder that officer was so grateful to her and even gave her a small black bottle. Not long after, Wang Qingwen approached Qin Tian with a cold expression and handed him an instruction. "This is a mission given to me by Major General Hu at the front. The Death Army alone cannot break through the Antelope Demon defense line. We need the help of powerful attendants under the Master's command. I am entrusting this mission to you. Do not let me down." Qin Tian sneered inwardly. "So eager to kill my servant? Unfortunately, you're overthinking it. To me, this is already a credit. The more military merits you accumulate now, the higher the rank you will be directly awarded when you join the Security Bureau, Crisis Bureau, or Death Army." He accepted the order and said calmly to Mingmei and the others, "Let's go." Watching Qin Tian and the others leave, Wang Qingwen finally couldn't suppress the urge to smile. "Let's see if you live or die. The 5th-tier queen is slaughtering everyone at the pass. If your servants go up there, they'll die. Mingmei, you useless sister, it's better for you to die here than to continue bringing shame to our Wang family. Don't blame your brother for being heartless. You broke the family rules, so this is what you deserve. As a woman born into a family of masters, you should accept your fate. Why resist?" Arriving at the front lines, Qin Tian was filled with rage. Is this some kind of combat operation? He said that these girls were sent to their deaths, but he thought they died because they were carelessly killed by monsters or encountered monsters they could not defeat. Qin Tian now sees that this is simply suicide. The girls behind him all had ugly expressions, unable to bear watching the scene before them. Only Ling Jingxue maintained her stiff expression, revealing neither joy nor sorrow. On the battlefield before them, hundreds of female soldiers, rifles in hand, charged straight ahead along the road. In the distance, the antelope demons raised their spears and fired in unison. Although these monsters' spears were not as terrifying as the queen's, their penetrating power was extremely frightening. The spear shadows moved silently through the night sky, and all that could be seen was a girl's chest and abdomen being pierced, leaving large, bloody holes. The master who commanded this force, however, was cursing. "Useless. All of you are useless. 6th Company, charge forward and advance the position by 100 meters. Under the command of that major master, another 100-meter-tall girl rushed forward, only to be mercilessly slaughtered by the monster. Qin Tian gritted his teeth and patted Mingmei's trembling hands. If Akemi hadn't been bound by her contract, she would have faced a similar fate. Akemi raised her eyes, her determination unwavering. "Let me go, I'll lead them forward 100 meters. She couldn't bear to see these poor girls being thrown into the mass grave. Even in a world where there are 100 times more women than men, and their status is incredibly pitiful, they are still people with lives and parents. It is unbearable that the master would die because of his incompetence. Qin Tian nodded and patted Mingmei's head. Be careful, come back immediately if you get hurt, and I'll help you heal. Mingmei gently bit her lip. She understood that the healing required enduring the other person's pain, and Qin Tian was actually willing to bear the aftereffects of the healing for her sake. She must produce results. She gripped the long sword, crafted from second-tier monster materials, and blocked the group of female soldiers who were about to charge forward. You all follow me. The female soldiers looked at the major, who was about to lose his temper, but after seeing the order document that Qin Tian showed them, he snorted coldly. Do as she says. With Mingmei, a third-tier, almost fourth-tier attendant, leading the way, the pressure on the female soldiers in this company instantly lessened, and they advanced quickly over 100 meters. The more than 50 survivors lay down on the spot and fought back against the monsters. The monster angrily attacked the position, wanting to kill all the humans there. But soon they discovered it was impossible. The human population there was growing rapidly. Seeing this, the queen guarding the pass said calmly, lure the enemy in, set up ambushes on both sides of the road, let them come up, then attack from both sides and annihilate them in one fell swoop. Yes. Having received their orders, the antelope demons began to execute the plan. When Akemi returned to the front line, she was covered in wounds, but she had a smile on her face because she had completed her mission. Qin Tian smiled and said, You did a good job, but I noticed you still have some flaws. Come here for a moment, and I'll give you some optimization. Mingmei's eyes widened as she looked around. This was the wilderness. Optimize here? Qin Tian knew that doing this kind of thing here was crazy, but given Mingmei's current attributes and condition, something bad would happen soon, so he had to temporarily optimize her. He was thinking about the victory of the war, and definitely not for anything else. He swore. Becoming a war god in the woods was never his intention. Mai, of course, knew what the so-called optimization was. She drew her twin swords and said calmly, Then, I'll lead the team from now on. Akemi, accept the optimization properly. Mingmei blushed, lowered her head, and dug her toes into the floor. Finally, Qin Tian led her into the grove of trees. This time, Mai's task was even more demanding. That idiot major demanded that Mai lead the team to advance 200 meters. Mai looked at the more than 300 girls behind her. The group was huge. She had a headache. How many of them would die? Not only that, but it suddenly started raining, truly a case of misfortunes never coming singly. She looked at the path ahead, the rain falling on it and slowly wetting the soil. She had a premonition that this was going to be a tough battle. She glanced at the grove of trees again. It looked like a tough battle was brewing there too. Akemi had never done anything like this in the wild before, and then it started raining heavily. She'd run into it all today. Chapter 49 Breaking Through the Pressure. Breaking through to the fourth tier in the face of battle. The rain intensified, blurring the entire world until it was almost impossible to see clearly. Mai, wielding two swords, opened her mystic eyes of death perception and gazed at the distant pass. Behind her was a group of trembling girls, their long line resembling a spear. Rain fell on them, soaking their long hair and clothes, and they breathed heavily. A thunderclap struck, illuminating Mai's resolute face. Her crimson eyeshadow shone like a knife in the night sky. A gust of wind and rain ruffled her hair, and her expression changed drastically. Kill! She led her 300 attendants and charged toward the pass. With her at the spearhead, all the flying spears were cut down, minimizing the injuries to the servants behind her. The master, who was overseeing the battle, held a telescope and saw Mai's amazing performance, his eyes shining. This servant of Qin Tian is really amazing. Not only is she beautiful, but she is also so strong. It's not even enough to describe her as being able to take on 100 men. He licked his lips and lewdly said, It would be great to have some fun with this girl. He looked around again but couldn't find Qin Tian. If it weren't for his other servants, he would have thought Qin Tian had run away. Never mind, I'll talk to him when I see him. He should agree to exchange servants. When he turned his gaze back to the battlefield, his brows furrowed. Suddenly, hundreds of antelope demons emerged from both sides of the pass. Instead of using their spears, they engaged in close combat. Not only that, a squad of antelope demons also emerged from the pass, directly blocking the advancing team. The entire team encountered tremendous obstacles. The straight line was twisted and deformed due to the attack from both sides. The heavy rain fell on the girls' terrified faces as they struggled to resist. Seeing this, Mai gritted her teeth and used her twin swords, crackling with lightning, to try and save the day. However, the immense pressure was putting her under considerable strain. These are far superior to the monsters and freaks on that mountaintop. They are now facing powerful warriors trained by the Demon Queen. They will cooperate and know when to advance and when to retreat. Once a weakness is discovered, it will be exploited immediately. The entire team was overwhelmed and couldn't breathe. Qin Tian, who was also undergoing optimization, was also struggling to breathe, and Mingmei's expression was clearly not good. Their current situation is that they could be exposed at any time. Mingmei will expose herself, and Qin Tian will expose his talent. Both of them are under tremendous pressure. She's from a big family, after all. Her will is just too strong. However, Qin Tian was strangely excited and wanted to conquer Mingmei. Mai was equally excited. Faced with this predicament, the pressure surged like a tide, igniting her desire to kill. The world of mystic eyes of death perception is full of death lines. Her entire body was enveloped in lightning, as if she were the one who created this thunderstorm. Boom! With a flash of lightning, stepping on the muddy ground, the twin blades sliced along the death line, instantly killing the antelope demons that the blades passed through. The pressure on the left side of the team instantly lessened, and the servants were able to hold off the attacks from the left. Then Mai looked to her right, wielding two swords, and slashed along the way, cutting one antelope demon after another to pieces. Rainwater mixed with demon blood fell on her body, making her look extremely ferocious under the lightning. Finally, she looked ahead and saw the sharp ranks of soldiers, who had been flattened by the monsters, now piercing through the obstacles in their path as she leaped forward. Kill! The flashes of the blades were like thunder, and the sounds were like roars. The servants' morale soared, and the battle intensified as they charged forward with almost oblivious abandon. The originally planned 200-meter distance turned into a disaster when Mai led the team and they stormed right up to the checkpoint. The Master Major, who was in charge of the battle, shouted excitedly, "Sugar, Nana, quickly lead the men in charge up. Don't let us lose the positions we've captured." When it's time to die, he sends the army of the dead. Now that he has rendered meritorious service, he sends his own servants. Shamelessness can reach this level. At the same time, a strong energy fluctuation came from afar, and Major Master suddenly looked at the grove of trees beside him, his eyes widening. He was all too familiar with this fluctuation. This is clearly the energy fluctuation of a servant advancing to the 4th rank. Who broke through to the 4th rank at the last minute? Mai, having completed her mission, retreated from the front lines, covered in blood, whether from the monsters or herself, she couldn't tell, and looked utterly exhausted, as if she had been completely drained. At this moment, a tired Qin Tian returned with a radiant Mingmei. Mingmei's face was as red as a peach blossom, her breathing was still a little rapid, and her face was full of excitement and joy. Her powerful aura drew the attention of the other servants present. 4th tier? Aki exclaimed, covering her mouth in surprise. She glanced at Mingmei, then at the grove of trees in the distance. This one, that one, just like that, advanced to the 4th rank? Even though the person who advanced to the 4th rank was her best friend, she was still a little jealous. I was only 1 day late, so why did I reach level 4 so quickly? That's so unfair. Mai also noticed that Akemi had advanced to the 4th rank. She glared resentfully at the exhausted Qin Tian, thinking how biased he was. No! I can't let Akemi leave me so far behind. Almost simultaneously, Aki and Mai both took Qin Tian's arm, their eyes filled with longing. You guys? Qin Tian was taken aback. Aki whispered, Lord Qin Tian, I want to advance to the 4th rank. She playfully shook Qin Tian's arm, her gentleness as soft as a cloud. Mai hugged Qin Tian's arm, gently bit Qin Tian's shoulder, licked Qin Tian's slightly salty skin, and said through gritted teeth, I just worked so hard and exceeded the mission requirements, you have to reward me. Qin Tian's lips twitched slightly. He was already exhausted, and now 2 more ruthless demons were coming to drain his lifeblood. He said he didn't want to, but actually he really did. Just now in the woods, risking being discovered at any moment, it was so exciting. It's not impossible to try again. He touched the small black bottle in his pocket and immediately felt more confident. Oh shit. The medicine that saved my master's life, I actually used as Viagra for myself. Let's get going. He gritted his teeth, stomped his foot, and left with Mai and Aki, while reminding Ding Miaomiao and Ling Jingxue to follow Mingmei to continue the mission. Ling Jingxue watched Qin Tian leave expressionlessly, lost in thought. Ding Miaomiao snorted, Senior brother. Leave it to me. Even without the optimization, dealing with these trash is a piece of cake for me. She took Ling Jingshua's hand, followed Mingmei, and said cheerfully, "Just follow me. Watch me take you flying." Mingmei's eyes were firm, and her aura gradually rose. She glanced at Ding Miaomio and said calmly, "We will split into two groups to block the demons on both sides of the pass and let the troops enter the pass. At that time, my third brother should make his move." Ding Miaomio chuckled, "Wow. Sister Mingmei is getting more and more confident. It's so great to get the optimization from senior brother. After I finish this task, I also want to get some optimization from senior brother." Mingmei blushed, glanced at Ling Jingxue, and coughed lightly. "Don't talk nonsense, focus on the battle." When the Master Major discovered that it was actually Mingmei who had advanced to the 4th rank, his eyes were strange. But when he remembered that Wang Mingmei was Section Chief Wang's sister, his expression relaxed. "So it's your turn now, right? I'll give you 800 men. You must break through this barrier. Can you do it?" Akemi's eyes were firm. "Leave it to me." Chapter 50. A 6th tier queen descends from the sky. Ferocious and wrathful. Akemi looked at the girls behind her and took a deep breath. If it weren't for Lord Qin Tian, she would have become one of them in a few years. To become someone who could die at any moment, be defiled at any moment, be trampled on at any moment, and have no human rights whatsoever. This world is so cruel. Servants are born weaker than their masters, and masters who possess immense magical power can accelerate their own cultivation. No matter how hard a servant tries, reaching the 3rd rank by the age of 20 after awakening is already considered very excellent. Without a master's help, it would take about 30 years to break through to the 4th rank. By then, they would be 50 years old and frail. Even if they reached the 4th rank, their strength might not be as good as the 3rd rank. As for the 5th tier, that's just wishful thinking. Without a master's help, it takes 90 to 100 years to go from the 4th to the 5th rank. It is almost impossible for a 4th rank servant to live to 140 or 50. She touched her chest and her lower abdomen. They felt warm. Mingmei's lips curled up slightly because Qin Tian reached out to her, pulled her out of hell, and gave her a future, hope, and love. No amount of repayment is too much. She was determined to keep Lord Qin Tian alive. "Third brother. You won't harm Lord Qin Tian. No matter how difficult the situation, I will overcome it." She gripped her longsword tightly with both hands, held it upright in front of her, looked through the blade at the pass ahead, and roared, "Kill!" She strode forward, taking the lead, and the servants behind her followed. They looked at Mingmei's figure with faith. She was their knight in shining armor, their angel. And their knight, the faith in the eyes of their angels, is Qin Tian, who is fighting on drugs in the grove. On the other side, Ding Miaomio held a guandao in her hand, her eyes sharp, her long red hair and crimson eyes shining brightly in the night. The flames evaporated the rainwater on her body, and the nearby rainwater also evaporated. She was as imposing as a tiger in the wind and rain, and she was not afraid even when a tidal wave of monsters surged in front of her. Without turning her head, she said calmly to Ling Jingxue, "Stay close to me." Ling Jingxue nodded. "Kill." She was incredibly fast, like a shooting star, instantly plunging into the horde of monsters, the crowded monsters being cleaved apart by her flames. The monster let out a terrified roar. "It hurts. It hurts. It's so hot. So hot. It's burning. It's burning." Her face was contorted with rage, like a murderous maniac, as she cleaved through the bodies of one demon after another with her guandao, a type of halberd. Her expression was one of boundless excitement, and she laughed heartily. "So good. So good. Is this the power my senior brother gave me?" A black sun appeared behind it, and everything around it seemed to be sucked in and burned to ashes. Her halberd moved with immense force, cleaving through the muddy earth and scorching everything in its path with blazing flames, unstoppable in its advance. Faster. Stronger. More powerful. Ling Jingxue followed Ding Miaomio calmly, watching her dark red figure. The firelight reflected in her silver pupils, and her hair and pupils were turning crimson. Level A synchronization. It is a talent for imitating and observing targets. She looked at the ordinary longsword in her hand and began to learn how to hunt monsters from Ding Miaomio, step by step. Under their overwhelming force, the monster army collapsed and could not be stopped. The Master Major, who was observing all of this, whistled and exclaimed in surprise. "That's amazing. That's incredible. That's how strong a servant should be. Holy crap. All the servants I hired are utter garbage compared to that red-haired girl. I really want her. But Qin Tian is Section Chief One's brother-in-law, what a pity. He turned to look at Akemi on the other side. This place was quite ordinary. Mingmei's attacks were steady and methodical, with measured advances and retreats. She took great care of the servants behind her, showing them the utmost concern. Such a kind girl was looked down upon by this master major. They're just cannon fodder who will be replaced as soon as they die, why care so much? You're a young lady from the Wang family, your moves should be powerful and sweeping, making all the monsters tremble in fear. With the help of Mingmei and others, the situation went very smoothly, and they quickly broke through the checkpoint, which was a signal. Wang Qingwen was extremely surprised when he received this news. What? Wang Mingmei broke through to the 4th rank in the middle of battle? And she even led her team into the pass? How did she do that? Wang Qingwen frowned, somewhat irritated. He had thought that Qin Tian's servants were seriously injured, and he would play the savior, offering to heal them in exchange for taking Mingmei away. His plan fell through, and he was very unhappy. How come all my plans fail when I run into that bastard Qin Tian? TSK. Alright, let's finish the mission first. Let's gather all the masters and servants and deal with that queen at the pass. Find another opportunity to have the queen kill Qin Tian, so that Mingmei will still be ours. When he arrived at the front lines with his attendants and his masters, he witnessed another unbelievable scene. Qin Tian, that bastard, had red spots all over his neck and claw marks all over his arms. The two stunningly beautiful girls beside him had rosy cheeks and radiant complexions. The girl with the bright red eyeshadow was stunningly beautiful, making his heart race. He had seen pretty girls before, but he had never seen one as attractive as her. He had an urge to grab her by the neck and humiliate her. The other girl, with a face like a peach blossom and a delicate and charming appearance, had a completely different feel to her, giving him an impulse to gently caress and tenderly cherish her. Not only that, they had both reached the 4th rank, and were two attendants who had broken through in the heat of battle. Why? Why is such a good servant belonging to that bastard Qin Tian? However, it doesn't matter. Once Qin Tian dies, they will all be his. I'll have them serve me well tonight, it should be very enjoyable. He glanced at Mingmei, his own sister, who had returned, but she didn't even look at him. She rushed into Qin Tian's arms and rubbed against his chest like a kitten. In all these years, Mingmei has never treated herself like this. Anger burned within him, and he coldly snorted, 16 masters, assemble. Follow me into the pass, kill that 5th-tier queen, and find the Azure Antelope Queen. Qin Tian looked at the furious Wang Qingwen and sneered softly. He had already figured out how to kill this bastard. At this moment, my small fist landed on Qin Tian's chest, and she complained, "Why were you so mean to me just now? And so gentle to Aki? Did you think you were going to strangle me to death?" Qin Tian ruffled Mai's hair, "Didn't you say you wanted me to pinch you? Why are you blaming me? Besides, haven't I already healed you?" Mai pouted, grabbing the hand that had messed up her hair, "But you were too mean. The injury is healed, but the pain is still there. It's hot and painful, you jerk." Aki watched her sister and Qin Tian bickering with a smile. This kind of scene would never be seen in an ordinary master's home. Qin Tian cupped Mai's face in his hands and kissed her. "Does this feel better?" Mai's pretty face flushed instantly. She turned her head away and muttered, "Fine, then." He patted Mai's backside impatiently and urged, "Hurry up and follow us. Can't you see Section Chief Wang is glaring at us?" Qin Tian quickly healed Mingmei and the others' external injuries, and then followed Wang Qingwen to the interior of the pass. The space inside was enormous, and the ground was littered with the corpses of girls and monsters. The battle was extremely fierce. In the distance, a woman with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a 5th-tier antelope knight, wielding a dark green spear, pulled the spear from the body of a servant dressed in battle armor, shook off the blood, and then gazed at them with emerald green eyes. Behind her were two more antelope riders in the same form. The 5th-tier antelope knight said calmly, "Come forward and prepare to die, human master." Before Wang Qingwen could say anything, Qin Tian interrupted, "You're the one who deserves to die. Do you even know who this master is?" Wang Qingwen frowned. What did Qin Tian want to say? He is an elite master of the royal family in Kyoto. He became a 5th-tier master at a young age, not even 30. At first, the antelope knight didn't pay any attention, and Wang Qingwen was even smug, thinking that Qin Tian was trying to curry favor with him. As Qin Tian's lips curled up, he continued. "And they are the heroes who killed Queen China. You must all surrender." Before Qin Tian could finish speaking, his entire body tensed up, and the aura of death instantly enveloped everyone. They looked up abruptly and saw a figure with elegant lake green hair and 6 demonic markings painted on his face suddenly appear in mid-air. His amber eyes were filled with bloodlust and hatred as he stared intently at Wang Qingwen. Human master! Give me back my dearest friend China's life. Wang Qingwen was shocked. He finally realized that Qin Tian was actually setting him up. Damn it! Chapter 51: The Ugly Display of Impotent Rage. I owe you nothing. When Qin Tian said that Wang Qingwen was the master who killed Qina, Qingling, who was still grieving the loss of her best friend, almost reflexively jumped up and locked onto Wang Qingwen. Was that the human master who killed China? Qingling was filled with grief and indignation, her mind filled with the beautiful memories she had shared with Qina. Even now, she was still mourning Qina's shadow. Now, she is the only one left, feeling lost and helpless. She deeply regretted not saying goodbye to China, and couldn't sleep all night. Every moment I think of you breaks my heart, and I still haven't recovered. I can no longer touch you, no longer feel your warm, soft hands holding me. I hate it so much. Now, only by avenging you and sending your master to hell can I find peace in my heart. Pierce through him. Light of purification. Filled with anger and sorrow, the spear in the blue antelope's hand shone with a dazzling green light, illuminating the entire valley and bringing it to life. However, this vibrant light also carries a deadly intent. Wang Qingwen knew he couldn't escape. He was targeted by the queen of the azure antelopes and had no choice but to fight back. He gritted his teeth and roared at his servants, "Stand in front of me and block this attack together." His attendants hesitated, because they all knew that Wang Qingwen wanted to use their lives to deplete the power of the azure antelope queen. What are you doing? Hurry up! Believe it or not, when I die, all your families will be buried with me. His 7 attendants trembled and reluctantly stood in front of Wang Qingwen. Having gathered enough power, the azure antelope queen thrust out her spear, and a dazzling green light streaked across the sky, falling towards Wang Qingwen. The 5th-tier magical weapon in the first servant's hand was shattered, the spear tip grazing her shoulder and sending her flying backward. The second one had his chest pierced through, like a kite with a broken string. The third died on the spot. The 4th one's arm exploded. The 5th one went blind. The 6th one's whole body was on fire, and the 7th one was so frightened that he ran away immediately. Because the spear was aimed at Wang Qingwen, the 7th servant survived unharmed. However, Wang Qingwen's face was very pale. While the servant was blocking, he was also retreating, trying to create space. But the light seemed to be drawn to Wang Qingwen's scent, chasing after him and changing direction in mid-air. The moment the light turned and touched the ground, green flames exploded, and the entire valley was instantly ignited by a great green fire, like a grand fire ritual. Qin Tian's expression was solemn. At the moment the green flames exploded, he hugged Ling Jingxue behind him and used his back to shield her from the ferocious flames. As for his attendants, he wasn't worried at all. They were already very powerful and not afraid of the aftermath. Not only him, but the other masters and their attendants also steadily blocked the impact. The one who really suffered was Wang Qingwen. The light shone directly on his chest, but a transparent eggshell blocked it. Qin Tian chuckled, as expected of someone from a major family. They even have high-level defensive magical artifacts. The eggshell that withstood the queen of the azure antelope's fatal blow was armor made from high-level magical materials. Each of these armors was incredibly expensive, costing billions to create. Even so, the armor was shattered by the light, and the remaining power was eventually blocked by Wang Qingwen's 6th-tier demonic weapon longsword, allowing him to survive. He was about to take revenge on Qin Tian when he discovered that Queen Qingling had no intention of letting him go. The moment the blue antelope landed, it kicked off with its hind legs, appearing in front of Wang Qingwen as if by teleportation. It grabbed the emerald green spear that had been thrown, raised its front hooves, and raised the spear again, angrily striking out once more. Wang Qingwen's face was contorted with rage as he roared at the masters present, "Come save me! If I die, I'll make you all pay with your lives." Qingling gave Wang Qingwen no chance to be rescued. The spear fell, striking Wang Qingwen directly in the chest, and his clothes emitted a deep red light. Another high-level magical artifact? This time, they failed to break through with a single blow, but Wang Qingwen roared like a madman. "Help me! Hurry! My armor won't hold up for more than a few times. Help me! That's a 6th-tier queen." The masters present were mostly tier 3 or tier 4, and were no match for them. Wang Qingwen's 5th-rank attendants were mostly crippled. The only remaining attendant was trembling with fear, disregarding even his family in order to survive. Boom! As the spear fell, it failed to penetrate Wang Qingwen's armor, but the earth trembled, and a deafening echo reverberated through the valley. Wang Qingwen coughed up blood, clearly his protective gear could no longer withstand the full force. His eyes were filled with despair as he pleaded with Qin Tian for help. Qin Tian. Save me. Tell Major General Hu that Queen Qingling is here. If you save me, I'll give Mingmei to you completely and I'll never look for you again. Qin Tian looked at Wang Qingwen coldly, but said in a fearful tone, but she is a 6th level queen, and I am only a 3rd level one. I am no match for her at all. Veins bulged on Wang Qingwen's forehead as he roared, Qin Tian, you bastard. Everyone here knows you framed me. If I die, you'll be buried with me. Boom. Queen Qingling was ferocious and furious, and only wanted to kill Wang Qingwen to avenge Qina. At this moment, Wang Qingwen was bleeding from all 7 orifices. He roared at the blue antelope in resentment, you stupid monster, I'm not the one who killed the Qina. You've got the wrong person. The one who truly killed China must be the one who framed me. Boom. He spat out another mouthful of blood, his mouth filled with crimson, and roared furiously, were you even listening? Qingling raised her spear, glanced coldly at Wang Qingwen, and said indifferently, I know, but it doesn't matter. You're all going to die anyway, not just you, but everyone here. You're just the beginning. With that, she placed one of her front hooves on Wang Qingwen's head and the other on his groin, the tip of her spear aimed directly at his heart. The green light condensed again and then suddenly fell. Boom! The ground was pierced through, and a beam of green light shot into the sky, illuminating the entire rainy night and the terrified faces of all the servants and masters on this battlefield. She is the queen of the blue antelopes, the queen of slaughter on this grassland. She will hunt down and kill anyone she wants, even if they are thousands of miles away. Wang Qingwen's body lay buried beneath her feet, no longer a remnant. She looked up at the sky, letting the rain fall and pelt her face. Gently closing her eyes, she murmured softly. If you gave me wings, I would carry you and fly high, even if this land had sunk into the sea. If you gave me a gun, I would stand up for you, even if this world had killed you. Let me offer you my final tribute. She raised her front hooves and turned to face a master. The 4th-tier master was terrified and turned to run, abandoning all his servants. He was then struck in the head by the blue antelope, while his servants had already been killed by the time he arrived. And so, the masters and attendants of the 16 divisions died one by one. No, they were slaughtered. They might be trampled to death, pierced by a gun, or burned to ashes by the light. When that short-haired master died, he was looking at Qin Tian with a puzzled expression, wondering why Qingling hadn't made a move against him yet. Her subordinates just watched without offering any help, as if doing so would be a defilement of the ceremony. After killing everyone except Qin Tian and his attendants, the pass was blocked, and no more humans could enter. Qingling looked at Qin Tian with icy eyes. Well then, it's time to settle the score. The SSS rank master who truly killed China, with that strong scent on you, it would be hard for me not to recognize you. Qin Tian chuckled. He knew that such a thing couldn't be hidden from Queen Qingling. These queens had noses sharper than the most sophisticated instruments, so how could they not discover that he was an SSS-level master? He watched as the blue antelope raised its spear and decisively chose to attack. As he watched the blue antelope unleash its spear, pondering what ability he could use to block it, a petite silver figure suddenly appeared before him, light piercing through her delicate body. Ling Jingxue, who had been pierced through, faced Qin Tian and said softly, I don't owe you anything anymore. Chapter 52 Live for me. Ignite the dawn. Ling Jingxue's face was covered in blood. The light pierced through her body and flew back into Qingling's hand. Qingling was slightly puzzled and murmured, that shouldn't be the case. I should have locked onto that master's aura. It should only return after penetrating the target. She looked Ling Jingxue up and down and chuckled, so that's how it is. The A-level talent, synchronization, synchronizes your aura with that master's aura, causing my spear to mistakenly identify its target. Qingling looked at Ling Jingxue again, and curled her lips impatiently, it seems that I won't be able to hit that SSS level until she is completely dead. Mingmei and the others stared blankly. Their first thought was to shield Qin Tian, but they were too slow. The one who blocked the attack was none other than Ling Jingxue, who was standing behind Qin Tian. This girl, whom he had only known for less than a day, actually shielded Qin Tian from that deadly light. A rare hint of satisfaction appeared in the eyes of the pure white-clad girl lying in a pool of blood. Am I finally going to die? After going through so much pain, am I finally going to see my mother and sisters? That's good, she murmured to herself. Tears welled up silently, mingled with the blood and disappeared, and consciousness gradually faded. At that moment, a green light illuminated her forehead. I can handle that level of attack, Qin Tian said softly, stroking her head. You just need to stay behind me. Ling Jingxue murmured, you saved me, so I have to save you. That's what my mother told me. Qin Tian was stunned for a moment, then sighed softly, silly woman, in this world, you actually still have such thoughts. How naive. Saving you was just something I did on a whim. Qin Tian stroked Ling Jingshue's silver hair, if I let you die like this, it would trouble me a lot. Besides, you are still young and have a long future ahead of you. No, I have no future, I have no attachment to this world. Ling Jingshue's voice grew softer and softer. No, Ling Jingxue, you can't die. You have to live. There are still many things in this world that you haven't experienced yet, such as hugging, kissing, and loving each other. So, live on. Didn't you say there was no point in living? Then live on for me. The SSS level, healing, skill repaired her body, and light slowly returned to Ling Jingshue's eyes. She gazed at Qin Tian and nodded gently, okay. At this moment, Ling Jingxue felt as if she were immersed in warm water. It was a baptism, a rebirth, and she seemed to have found the meaning of living. Qin Tian kissed Ling Jingshue's lips and stood up. After being healed, he learned about Ling Jingshue's past. Ling Jingxue was once a cheerful child. Her family wasn't wealthy, but it was warm and loving. She never met her father after birth. Her family consisted only of her mother and 2 older sisters. She should have grown up healthy and become a beautiful and talented servant, sought after by many masters. When she was 12, the Demon Queen appeared and killed and ate her mother and 2 older sisters one by one in front of her. If the security bureau's master hadn't arrived in time, she would have been killed as well. From then on, she lost all joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, became taciturn and indifferent to everything. Even when masters tried to befriend her and form a contract with her, they gave up after discovering that she was as cold as an empty shell. Even within the army of the dead, some were captivated by her beauty, but in the end, they were defeated by her cold, empty eyes. They have no interest in wasting time on one dead fish. There are plenty of pretty girls out there. Now, she has met Qin Tian and been given a new lease on life. This was her fate. Xingling couldn't believe her eyes. There was actually someone in this world who could heal the target she had pierced. That SSS rank master was really strong, no wonder he killed Akana. Stop, Xingling. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang in Xingling's ears. She looked up sharply at Ding Miao Miao, recognizing that familiar presence. China? China looked at Xingling with cold eyes. Yes, I'm not dead. My soul has merged with this human's. Stop now. If you keep fighting, you will die. I don't want to see that. Xingling burst into tears and threw herself at China, crying, What? I thought you were dead. It's so good to see you alive. Why didn't you come out sooner? China pushed Xingling away with a look of disgust. Her face was covered in tears and looked filthy. I'm not going back, so why did I come out? If you hadn't done something wrong, I wouldn't have wanted to come out at all. Xingling asked in confusion, Why? Could it be that he's controlling you? As she spoke, she raised her spear and stared intently at Qin Tian. His healing abilities are strong, but I'm also confident I can kill him. I'm taking you away today. No one can stop me. Qin Tian was also staring at Xingling, sneering repeatedly, Is that so? She's mine now. You think you can take her away? Absolutely not. Furthermore, I will not forgive you for hurting Ling Jingxue. He ordered Ma Yi, Give me your twin swords. This was the first time I had seen Qin Tian so angry, and she immediately handed over her twin swords to him. Qin Tian wielded 2 swords, his magical power surging wildly. Xingling chuckled, A mere 3rd rank, even an SSS level master, can be stronger than a 6th rank? Ridiculous. I just said, you all have to die. Xingling looked at China and said with a smile, Except for China, of course. China opened her mouth, wanting to persuade Xingling, because she knew that Qin Tian was not an SSS level master, but a US level master. The only US class in all of humanity. However, seeing Qin Tian's angry expression, she knew that if she spoke up, she would definitely be punished. Between her best friend and her beloved, she chose her beloved. Forgive me, Xingling. Qin Tian gripped his twin swords tightly, and a hurricane appeared on the blade of the long sword in his left hand, as dark clouds suddenly filled the sky. The power of Indra's wrath has been infused into this long sword, completing its enchantment. The long sword in his right hand, though its blade was clearly metal, ignited directly without turning red. The flowing flames resembled an even sharper blade, as if capable of cutting through and burning anything it touched. Ashes of all things, enchantment complete. Then, a black sun appeared behind it, and everything around it flew toward the black sun the instant it appeared, as if it were a black hole that could devour and burn endless things. Xin Tian now looks exactly like the sun god of the black sun. On the other side, Xingling also noticed Xin Tian's predicament. She held her spear horizontally in front of her, gently stroking the shaft, her eyes full of love, and whispered. Pierce through everything. The light of slaughter and purification. Azure sky. The spear in her hand emitted a dazzling light that was almost blinding, blowing her long, lake green hair, and her amber eyes regained their bloodlust and killing intent. She raised her gleaming spear once more and struck, as if she had struck countless times. The endless spear shots, like emerald rays of light, swept over her. The antelope knights present looked extremely smug. This is the queen they are loyal to. This is the king of slaughter on the grasslands. Under the glow of the sunset, everything is pierced through. They looked at their master, wondering how he would react. Xin Tian simply raised his right hand, wielding the burning longsword, and gently waved it towards the rosy clouds in the sky. The sky was instantly ignited, with towering green flames. Everything turns to ashes, and then everything is ignited. Even light. The blue antelope's pupils trembled, and its whole body shook. Xin Tian grinned, and his mystic eyes of death perception opened. Accept your judgment. Chapter 53 almost did it all. Crocodile tears. Xin Tian's twin blades flashed, their blue and red gleams extending from the blades. His body was a sharp blade, cutting through the burning glow of the sunset. The blue antelope screamed and charged wildly, the azure sky soared high, and the demon queen unleashed terrifying speed, causing the air to tremble violently. A blue sonic cone appeared behind her, launching an attack on Xin Tian, who was dragging the black sun. The air between the two was compressed to its limit by the speed. A gale swept through the entire valley, and amidst the thunderous sonic boom, the two collided with flesh and blood. Despite the difference in size, Xin Tian held an absolute advantage. Indra's wrath transformed the raging wind into power, propelling the blue antelope away with a single blow. A deep gash was carved into the antelope's body, a scar that would never be erased. She crashed into the mountainside, spitting blood. Her eyes widened as she saw her spear burst into flames, followed by her arm being set ablaze. The excruciating burning pain contorted her face. She quickly used her demonic energy to extinguish the flames and escaped before Xin Tian could catch up. The antelope knights were dumbfounded, completely unwilling to believe it. A third-tier fighter against a sixth-tier fighter, the third-tier fighter forced the sixth-tier fighter to hide. Is there any common sense left in this? Is there no law anymore? Is there no bottom line left? Xin Tian's servants were all smug and proud. Xin Tian was so strong, and as his servants, they shared his honor and disgrace. The antelope knight couldn't stand the women's faces and wanted to take advantage of Xin Tian dealing with the green antelope to capture them and threaten him. Xina coldly stood in front of the crowd, reminding them, don't move. Just stay like this. If you dare to lay a hand on me, don't blame me for being ruthless. The fifth-tier antelope knight who was leading the charge chickened out. She really didn't have confidence in facing China. Trying to escape? You must pay for the pain of killing so many young girls. A cold voice came from Xin Tian's mouth. He stepped into the void, the storm carrying him as he chased after the blue antelope. Like a ghost, his twin blades left streaks of blue and red light as they slashed at the antelope's four legs. The antelope's strong limbs were split open, its muscles severed, and it was burning. Xin Tian swung his sword twice more, his left hand cleaving along the deadline of the antelope's right arm, and his right hand slashing horizontally, piercing through its collarbone and nearly severing the antelope's head. You hurt Jingxue, I will repay you with an eye for an eye. Xin Tian aimed his long sword at Qingling's chest and pierced it with a whirlwind, leaving a black hole the size of a bowl in Qingling's body. Qingling was numb. She couldn't escape. The terrifying attraction of the black sun bound her like shackles, burning her body until all her fur turned to ash, leaving her bald and covered in burns. Now, Qingling had completely lost the power to resist. Before she died, she took one last look at Xina, her eyes filled with relief. That's fine. As long as I see you're still alive, that's enough. Upon noticing Qingling's gaze, Xina trembled all over. She gritted her teeth and kept telling herself the same thing. I can't help. I can't help. She's on the human side now, she absolutely can't help the blue antelope. Qin Tian looked at the barely surviving blue antelope in front of him, raised his hand, and touched its head. Plunder! The blue antelope's eyes rolled back, its whole body convulsed, and it growled softly. It hurts. It hurts. What are you doing to me? Don't do this. It hurts so much. My mind, why is my mind completely blank? Ah. What is this? What is this? Qin Tian ruthlessly plundered the power of the azure antelope. It was a 6th-tier power, and he didn't know how much he could take away. He watched Xingling's expression change from arrogance to gritted teeth and perseverance, and finally to a dazed and confused state. She chuckled foolishly in front of Qin Tian, drool dripping from the corner of her mouth, her eyes rolling upwards, as if she had lost herself. Qin Tian suddenly thought of something, released his grip, and did not kill the blue antelope. The antelope knights, who had been filled with despair, were stunned when they suddenly saw Qin Tian stop. Even Mingmei and the others were surprised. Why did Lord Qin Tian, who had just been so bloodthirsty, suddenly stop? She now watched Qin Tian's retreating figure, biting her lip, thinking, could it be that Lord Qin Tian spared Xingling for her sake? Wah! Lord Qin Tian is just too good. He actually let Xingling go for my sake. How can I ever repay him? Let him play with me tonight? You can be a K1 to K9. Not enough. Do whatever Lord Qin Tian says. Not enough. Yes, even if Lord Qin Tian wanted to play with her internal organs, she would still laugh as she tore open her chest. Thinking of this, she now actually showed an expectant, even crazy, expression. However, the truth is, holy crap! I almost got into a huge mess. Damn it, I'm only at level 3. If the Azure Antelope Queen dies, who will get the credit? Me? A level 3 killing a level 6? No wonder the higher-ups are arresting me. Xingling cannot die. She absolutely cannot die. We must let her escape. I estimate that Major General Hu will be leading his team over soon, so we must get things sorted out on the ground as soon as possible. He looked at the Antelope Knight in the distance, pointed at the 5th-tier Antelope Knight, and shouted, "Hey! You! The one with the perky butt." The 5th-tier Antelope Knight, with his buttocks sticking out, pointed at himself with a bewildered expression. Did this mean he wanted me to be buried with him? Yes, it's you. You don't want Queen Qingyan to die, do you? The Antelope Knight nodded repeatedly. Very good. Now, get your henchmen moving. Make the scene as chaotic as possible. Huh? The Antelope Knight looked completely bewildered. What does this mean? Even Qin Tian's attendants were completely bewildered. What is Lord Qin Tian trying to do? Why aren't you killing the blue antelope? What are you doing making a mess of the scene? Only Ling Jingxue thought of it, and said abruptly and without emotion. I understand what Lord Qin Tian means. All the attendants looked at Ling Jingxue. Ling Jingxue said expressionlessly, if Lord Qin Tian wants to hide his talent, then he cannot kill the Azure Antelope Queen. Once he does, when Major General Hu arrives, and Lord Qin Tian is the only one alive present, then Lord Qin Tian will undoubtedly be the hero who killed the Azure Antelope Queen and the murderer who killed Section Chief Wang. The result will be... Ling Jingxue didn't finish her sentence, but everyone understood. Lord Qin Tian will definitely be captured, dissected, and studied. Once Lord Qin Tian's secret is discovered, he will lose his freedom and become a machine for producing S-class servants. Having only one SSS level talent might be considered a treasure, but having so many SSS level or even US level talents is a dangerous factor. The two groups that were just fighting to the death are now immediately cooperating. Neither side wants to die. Qin Tian instructed the remaining attendants, remember, when Major General Hu asks questions, tell him that things happen suddenly, that we are weak and cowardly, and that we have been thinking about opening up a way out. We don't know exactly what happened on the battlefield. Wang Mingmei, remember to tell Major General Hu that Section Chief Wang made us do this so that you could live. Wang Mingmei nodded emphatically, okay, I understand. He looked into the distance at the herd of antelope riders dragging the blue antelopes and shouted, you too, remember to tell any humans you encounter with an angry tone that you were impressed by Section Chief Wang's courage and strength, and that you fled with feelings of resentment and admiration. The Antelope Knights nodded repeatedly, yes, we understand, Lord Qin Tian. Qin Tian nodded, looked at the servants again, and waited until the roars of the masters came from outside, along with the powerful Sixth Order aura of General Hu. His expression changed, and he spoke to everyone. Prepare. Cry. Major General, who broke through the demon army at the gate, stormed in angrily, and roared loudly. "Queen of the Blue Antelopes, you bitch, where are you?" Then he saw in the distance that the Antelope Knights were dragging a badly wounded blue antelope and shouting at him. Humans are indeed full of heroes. They actually managed to severely injure our queen with their 5th-tier abilities. We admire them greatly. We will come back to take revenge after we have rested for a while. After saying that, they turned and ran. Just as Major General, who was about to give chase, he heard crying again. Turning his head, he was shocked to find Qin Tian and his attendants banging their heads on the ground, wailing loudly in front of a 6th-tier demonic sword. Wah-ha-ha! Third brother. You died such a terrible death. Section Chief Wang. You've been so good to me, I'll definitely treat Ming Mei well. Don't worry. Major General, who was full of questions. What happened? Chapter 54. Everyone's a drama queen. Deception upon deception. You bastard. How could you abandon everyone else and run away alone? After learning the whole story from Qin Tian, Major General, who showed no respect for Qin Tian, the master, and launched into a tirade of insults. He had just chased after the Queen of the Blue Antelopes, but lost her and had to come back, which only added to his anger. How can you be such a coward? Section Chief Wang is fighting on the front lines, and you're thinking of running away? I heard from Section Chief Wang that you were very brave, and I thought you would perform very well. You did very well when we first attacked the pass, but I didn't expect that when it came to fighting for our lives, you actually chickened out? What about your honor as a master? Your servants are just pretty, can't they make a sacrifice for Section Chief Wang? Qin Tian thought to himself, no, they're all my babies. How many of these beautiful servants do you want? I'll give you as many as you need. Qin Tian complained again, you guys have already played with all of this to death, I don't want it. You shouldn't have done this once in a million years, you shouldn't have abandoned Section Chief Wang and run away on your own. Once Major General, who started cursing, he couldn't stop, he was genuinely furious. Wang Qingwen was a member of the Wang family, an elite master of the direct line of the Wang family. Now he died in the battle he was commanding. His future is completely over. Seeing Qin Tian being scolded, Ming Mei couldn't help but start to defend Qin Tian. Major General, it's all my fault. It's all because my brother wanted me to live, so he had Lord Qin Tian take me and run away first, so... Before Ming Mei could finish speaking, Major General, who spat and cursed at her, bullshit. You're just a servant, only very pretty and a little talented. But your brother? He's a master. A rank, 5th-level master. Why should he let you live and face Queen Qingling alone? You're all a bunch of cowardly scum. Useless trash. Garbage and degenerates among the master's servants. Qin Tian and the others looked guilty and aggrieved, but they were actually overjoyed inside. The angrier Major General who was, the more he believed what he and his men were saying. Compared to having my secret discovered, being arrested, and being scolded, I don't care. Qin Tian forcefully argued, Major General who, I'm only at the 3rd rank, and I'm only at the F rank. I can't defeat the Azure Antelope Queen. Staying here will only mean death. Upon hearing this, Major General who became even angrier, even if you are a 3rd-tier F level, you are at least a combatant. If you stay, Section Chief Wang might defeat the Azure Antelope Queen, and Section Chief Wang will be a hero of our entire army and a hero of Donghai City. Qin Tian sneered inwardly, this guy actually believed it. He genuinely believed that Wang Qingwen could defeat Queen Qingling. He failed to witness how Queen Qingling brutally murdered Wang Qingwen and Wang Qingwen's pathetic display of impotent rage. After scolding Qin Tian, Major General who started scolding Ming Mei. You useless servant. You're already at the 4th rank, a mid-level combatant, and you actually ran away with that scum Qin Tian. That's your brother. Your own flesh and blood. Ming Mei cursed inwardly, that scumbag, he always wanted me to go and keep that pig in the Yang family company. He never treated me like a brother. On the surface, Ming Mei looked aggrieved and on the verge of tears, as if she might break at any moment. I know, but my master is Lord Qin Tian. He told me to run, so I dare not disobey. Major General who laughed in anger, I told you. How could Section Chief Wang possibly sacrifice himself for you? Now you've told the truth, haven't you? You're just a coward who's afraid of death. Your master is also a cowardly rat who's afraid of death. You're all cowardly cowards. Scum. Bitch. Mai's face turned red, and he gritted his teeth, saying, Major General who was right, Qin Tian is a cowardly good-for-nothing. I'm starting to regret becoming his servant. Qin Tian stared wide-eyed at Mai. Are you starting to add your own drama? Mai glanced at Qin Tian with disdain and said dismissively. We servants are all at the 4th rank, but he, as the master, is still at the 3rd rank. I have never seen such a shameless master. When we first met Queen Qingling, I advocated living and dying with Section Chief Wang, but that scum Qin Tian said that living is the only thing that matters, and forced me to help him escape. Major General who sneered repeatedly, pointing at Qin Tian and saying disdainfully, Look. Look. Even your servants look down on you. You're a failure as a master. You deserve to be in F rank, struggling at the bottom your whole life. Qin Tian repeatedly agreed, yes, I am a piece of trash, I am a scumbag, I am destined to struggle at the bottom for the rest of my life. It is all because of me that Section Chief Wang died tragically. Major General Hu, tired of cursing, snorted. If you weren't the master, and you hadn't disobeyed orders and only encountered an accident, I would really want to beat you to death. Recovering from his anger, Major General Hu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Section Chief Wang is dead, that's a fact. Queen Qingling has escaped, that's also a fact. Now we must give an explanation to Donghai City and the Wang family. I will put you on TV to report the results of the battle to the residents of Donghai City. You will say that Section Chief Wang sacrificed himself to kill the Queen of the Azure Antelopes. You were trying your best to stop him from escaping, but he wouldn't listen. He told you if I don't do this, no one else can. He wants to fight the Queen of the Azure Antelopes to the death for the glory of mankind. Qin Tian was dumbfounded. His own fabricated story was already a bit outrageous, but he didn't expect Major General Hu's story to be even more outrageous. In an instant, the ugly Wang Qingwen was portrayed as great and radiant. Qingling was clearly not dead, but Major General Hu insisted that she was. Isn't this deceiving everyone? Major General Hu snorted coldly, say what I tell you to say. The Queen of the Azure Antelopes is so badly injured, she's probably dead for sure. When I was chasing her, I saw her body begin to shrink. Her subordinates will definitely eat her up. That's no different from being dead. If he hadn't known about the deep bond between the demon queens, he would have almost believed General Hu's nonsense. Unexpectedly, one lie led to an even bigger lie. How much of the news he used to see on TV was actually true? Qin Tian felt completely exhausted after returning to his temporary tent to rest. Mingmei quickly came over to massage Qin Tian and asked softly, Lord Qin Tian, how would you rate my performance? Qin Tian glanced at Mingmei, who was massaging his legs, and commented, 0 points. Major General Hu doesn't believe it at all, which made me get scolded even more. Mingmei was on the verge of tears, muttering, I did exactly what Lord Qin Tian said, so why didn't I get a single point? Qin Tian pulled Mingmei into his arms, gave her a deep kiss, and said softly, but the effect was perfect. General Hu looked at me like I was trash. He would never have guessed that I almost killed Queen Qingling. Mingmei was so happy by Qin Tian's praise that she felt like she could breathe. She leaned against Qin Tian's chest, her face full of satisfaction. I frowned slightly. If we're talking about acting skills and effects, my final backstab was the one with top-notch acting skills and top-notch effects. Qin Tian rolled his eyes at Mai. Your acting is so pretentious. Your reactions are so exaggerated. Are you afraid people won't know you're acting? I almost saw you burst out laughing. Mai stomped her foot in embarrassment and indignation. I didn't laugh. I was seriously backstabbing you, okay? Aki chuckled, sister, stop making excuses. When you betrayed Lord Qin Tian, your face was flushed. That wasn't anger, but shame. After all, you were insulting the person you loved most against your will. When Mai saw her sister undermining her like this, she pounced on her and began to toy with her. Oh no! Everyone's looking at us. Mai retorted angrily, I'll show everyone how shameful you are. You actually said my expression was shameful just now. Who's the one who's ashamed now? I'm sorry. No. You, Qin Tian's lips twitched slightly. Were these two sisters really that open? Should we join them? Let them know who the master is. He glanced at Ding Miao Miao, or rather, Xina, who had been silent from the very beginning. Ling Jingxue is just like that, she must have something on her mind. What's wrong? Xina looked at Qin Tian and said softly, Major General Hu said that Qingling's body has shrunk. I'm worried about her current condition. You almost drained her dry back then. Qin Tian shrugged. After all, I was determined to kill her when I was absorbing her. If I hadn't remembered that killing a 6th level enemy with a 3rd level enemy would expose me, I would have really killed her. Will you blame me? I almost killed your best friend. Sheena shook her head. You are human, we are demons, it is normal for us to kill each other. Alright, that girl Ding Miao Miao is very angry now, saying that I have been hogging the body and not giving it to her. See you next time. See you next time. Ding Miao Miao, who had just emerged, immediately began to shout and yell. Qin Tian smiled and watched this joyful scene. Akemi lay in her arms, Aki and Mai were tearing each other's clothes, Ding Miao Miao was shouting excitedly, and Ling Jingxue was in a daze. If they killed the blue antelope, they would probably have to flee. 3 days later, around 8 p.m., on the Donghai City News Channel. Qin Tian, dressed in a black suit with a white flower pinned to his chest, stood in front of the television cameras and bowed to the audience. It is an honor for me to report the results of this operation to everyone as your representative. Just as Qin Tian was about to read his prepared remarks, an angry figure stormed into the live television studio. Explain yourself. How did my brother die? Chapter 55. Sister, please restrain yourself. The warmth of the raging rain. As the person barged in, the entire live stream room fell silent. In the live broadcast room, Mingmei and the others who were accompanying Qin Tian in his report changed their expressions drastically. Mingmei, in particular, turned pale and trembled uncontrollably when she saw this person. Big sister. The newcomer was Wang Qingwen and Wang Mingmei's eldest sister, who was also a formidable attendant and S-rank attendant with the strength of the 7th rank. When a servant reaches the 7th rank, even the master dares not provoke them easily. These powerful servants have already gained a certain degree of influence. Even though she was a servant of a deceased master, the army of the dead had no right to conscript her at will. Even Major General Hu, who was supervising Qin Tian, looked displeased. He really couldn't control this person, even though he was a 6th level master. Not only was she a 7th rank master, but her deceased master was a rare 8th rank SSS level master from the Divine Kingdom, a 3-star general. Even after the master's death, his attendants held very high positions. She was Wang Tanghua, the most outstanding servant of the younger generation in the Wang family and once Wang Mingmei's role model. This woman is over 40, yet her charm remains undiminished. Her fair and delicate face, her phoenix eyes blazing with anger, her willow leaf eyebrows raised, her figure alluring, and her crimson lips lightly biting her lip. She wore a red bodycon dress, red-soled high heels, and black sheer stockings that hugged her long, slender legs. With one hand on her hip, she walked towards Qin Tian, her waist swaying naturally, like the most alluring snake spirit. She came up to Qin Tian, grabbed his collar, and pressed her face against his, their breaths mingling on each other's faces, warm and fragrant. Not only that, this guy also committed a foul, violently dribbling the ball and charging into someone. They almost knocked him out of bounds. Tell me the truth. How did my brother die? I don't believe that nonsense about my brother doing it for the greater good. Qingwen is not that kind of person at all. Qin Tian looked at Major General Hu, hoping he would say something, but he found that Major General Hu was looking to the side, whistling, and simply ignoring him. Qin Tian was speechless for a moment, and cursed Hu Xiaozhang, the 6th level master, as a coward. Since you don't care, he's just going to tell the whole lie he made up. He glanced at the camera. It was still broadcasting live, which conveniently exposed Wang Qingwen's disgraceful behavior to the entire city, and even the whole country. Do you really want to know the truth? Wang Tanghua nodded, yes. Knowing the truth, you can't touch me. Qin Tian made his request again, and Wang Tanghua became somewhat impatient. Tell me right now. Or I'll hate you right now. As she spoke, Wang Tanghua grabbed Qin Tian directly. Qin Tian stared wide-eyed at Wang Tanghua in disbelief. Wow. It's quite big. Wang Tanghua chuckled. Qin Tian cursed inwardly, old woman, you're shameless. You're old enough to be my mother, yet you do this to me. This is being broadcast live. Now everyone in the city knows he's grown up. All eyes in the room instantly turned to Qin Tian, and the servants who were working all blushed and their throats bobbed incessantly. The masters were all furious, their fists clenched, their eyes filled with jealousy and resentment. Mingmei and the others lowered their heads, clasped their hands together, and dug their toes into the 3-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment. Qin Tian sighed, Sister, could you please show some respect and not do something so provocative? I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. Wang Tanghua chuckled, then you can't resist? I won't let go until you tell me. I haven't had a young man in a long time. Tell me the truth, and I can take care of you tonight. Qin Tian swallowed hard, and the female panel in front of him quietly appeared. Alternative attendant, Wang Tanghua. Age, 43. Talent level, S-rank plant manipulation. Class, 7. Height, 169 centimeters. Weight, 51. Measurements, 110-69-86. Appearance, 82. Favorability, 30. Note, if your appearance score is below 90, you do not meet the system requirements and cannot activate the ability granting in 100x return function. Qin Tian gave up resisting. He wasn't going to suffer any losses anyway. And so, Qin Tian became righteous and confronted Wang Tanghua head-on, straightening his back and putting pressure on his opponent. A mixture of fear and excitement appeared on the other person's face. Qin Tian angrily pointed his sword at the tiger's den and said loudly, "After we entered the valley, the queen of the blue antelope seemed to be waiting for us, blocking our retreat and attacking Section Chief Wang without saying a word." Wang Tonghua's face showed tension and worry. Qin Tian continued, "But Section Chief Wang had many magical artifacts, and he fought the queen of the azure antelope to a standstill for a time. However, the aftershocks of the battle frightened me, so I ran away." Wang Tanghua screamed, "You fucking ran away! You coward!" In a fit of rage, she pushed Qin Tian down, pinned him to the ground, sat on top of him, grabbed his neck, and raised her fist, seemingly intending to punch him. Qin Tian straightened his back confidently. "I'm only a tier 3, and an F rank at that. You want me to fight a tier 6 queen? Isn't that suicide?" Wang Tanghua was pressing hard, but he wasn't going to back down either. As the only human with a US level talent, he had to fight back. Wang Tonghua's pretty face turned red instantly. She had been pressing her so hard, yet the other party still dared to resist and even counterattack, making her feel embarrassed. What courage! Would someone like that really be a coward? Maybe he was a coward back then, but now, his egg is definitely not a coward. Perhaps, a third-tier being facing a sixth-tier being will truly experience an instinctive fear. Wang Tanghua's tone softened instantly, as if she had seen the despairing scene in the canyon. On the day of the decisive battle, it rained heavily, soaking the soil. The queen of the blue antelope's indifferent expression also soaked Wang Tanghua's beloved younger brother. The queen of the blue antelopes pressed forward relentlessly, attempting to surround and kill her brother in the canyon. However, her brother was incredibly strong and fought back desperately, breaking through her encirclement and attacking the queen of the blue antelope's weak points. That day, dark clouds covered the sky, and rain poured down. So, did my brother win? Wang Tanghua blushed and wanted to get up quickly, but her legs were weak and she couldn't stand up. Moreover, standing up now would expose her vulnerability. Qin Tian smiled and said, "Of course he won. In the Battle of the Canyon, he exposed all of the Azure Antelope Queen's trump cards. Even when he died, he did not back down a single step. Although he was forced into it, he was very powerful." Wang Tanghua prostrated herself on Qin Tian, crying loudly, trembling, and convulsing. "My poor brother. Did I push you too hard, making you too eager to achieve great things? You promised to bring me a gift when you came back, how could you go back on your word? Little brother. The rain must be so cold. I really want to hug you and warm you up." Qin Tian blinked and sighed. That rainy night when Wang Tanghua's beloved younger brother fought so hard, the rain was warm. At this moment, a staff member stepped forward and handed Wang Tanghua a glass of water. "Ms. Wang, please accept my condolences and have some water." Wang Tanghua did not refuse, but she did not drink it. Instead, she poured the water on her face, letting it soak her clothes, and then staggered to her feet, as if she had lost her soul. Qin Tian glanced at Wang Tanghua's retreating figure and secretly gave her a thumbs up. She actually thought of using this trick to cover it up. No wonder she's an older woman, she's really good at it. He knew he couldn't continue the report, so he returned to Mingmei's side. Mingmei asked worriedly, "Are you alright?" Qin Tian said calmly, "It's alright, but did you bring me any spare pants?" Chapter 56, Bubbles in the Bathroom. The consequences of speaking up for Qin Tian. The restroom at Donghai City TV station, a private room for the master. While apologizing, Mingmei helped Qin Tian change his clothes. "I'm sorry. I didn't know Sister Tanghua would come. I should have remembered that he was Sister Tanghua's favorite younger brother. Now that he's dead, Sister Tanghua will definitely." When Mingmei apologized, tears were almost streaming down her face. Seeing Mingmei's pitiful appearance, Qin Tian couldn't resist teasing her again. Since you think you're in the wrong, shouldn't you do something? A verbal apology is too insincere. Mingmei looked up at Qin Tian with a blank expression, tilted her head and asked, "What should I do to show my sincerity?" Qin Tian looked down at Mingmei's pink lips, and the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. Your sister was pressuring me so much just now, I was under so much pressure I almost peed my pants, you know that? Aren't you going to help me relieve some of the pressure? Your sister caused all of this, so you have to take responsibility. Mingmei gently bit her lip. She understood what Qin Tian meant. She looked around. The bathroom stall was bright and clean, with a toilet, a bathtub, and amenities such as shower gel and shampoo. The master's status is very high, and the bathroom is built to bathroom standards. However, this is still a restroom, even if it's a private stall, and people will pass by outside from time to time. Are we really going to do it here? Qin Tian's eyes lit up. She didn't refuse. She was still very resistant when they were in the grove. He simply couldn't resist such a lovely girl. Yes, right here. Mingmei lowered her head, nodded gently, and undressed Qin Tian. She then filled the bathtub with hot water and let Qin Tian lie down inside. She gently undressed herself, lathered her entire body with shower gel, and rubbed it to create bubbles. Lord Qin Tian and Mingmei are so slow, Ding Miao complained. She lay on the table, sliding up and down, the surface gleaming like a mirror. Aki said softly, "That's a 7th rank attendant, and Wang Qingwen's sister." Lying in front of such an important person must be very nerve-wracking. It's understandable that Lord Qin Tian needs some time to calm down. Mai said impatiently, "That Wang Tanghua is shameless." She was clearly live streaming, yet she barged in and even pressed herself against Lord Qin Tian, doing such a thing. I strongly suspect that she's after our master's good looks. She did it on purpose. Aki chuckled, "Sister, you're still talking about her. That day in the entryway, you." Mai, like a frightened bird, quickly covered Aki's mouth, glanced at Ding Miao who was still wiping the table, and Ling Jingxue who was expressionless and scrolling through her phone. Let's not bring this up again. I was controlled by my emotions at the time. Aki chuckled to herself. She loved seeing her older sister blush. The live stream was uninterrupted this time, and the audience reacted very strongly, Ling Jingxue said coldly. Ding Miao stopped wiping the table, ran behind Ling Jingxue, hugged Ling Jingxue's neck, and asked curiously, "How intense was it?" Aki and Mai also came over to watch, surrounding the petite Zero Kagami in the mountains. Ling Jingxue blinked, her expression unreadable, and looked down as she scrolled through the comments, pulling one up. Did you see that? That master is so brave. I don't know if you noticed, but they were actually there. This comment thoroughly analyzes everything that happened in the livestream through micro-expressions and micro-movements. This comment received 320,000 likes, and the number of subsequent comments reached tens of thousands. It has even spawned many related topics. A 40-year-old, fierce noblewoman takes a fancy to a 20-year-old, timid master. Is this an old cow eating young grass? Isn't anyone going to do anything about these erotic live streams? Is it a sign of moral decay, a distortion of human nature, or perhaps the older servants are too dazzling and oppressive? The untold secret between the cowardly master and the powerful super-rank servant. This master is a hypocrite who is all bark and no bite. He is obsequious to outsiders and dares not resist, but his beautiful servants must be bullied terribly by him. A lecherous and cowardly master, unable to defeat monsters, he beats his servants at home. Upon seeing this, Ding Miao exclaimed, "Wow! This person's analysis is so accurate, it's like being there in person. If I didn't have a keen sense of smell, I wouldn't have known they were so exciting." Ling Jingxue said calmly,